Welcome to Novel Love Hearing. We bring you hundreds of novel audiobooks covering every genre and every kind of story you can imagine. Action? We've got it. Adventure? Absolutely. Horror? Of course. Whether it's the legendary Uchiha Massacre or outrageous tales like stealing Naruto's and Sasuke's women, you'll find it here. From epic series like One Piece, Bleach, Fairy Tail, and Hunter x Hunter, to countless other adventures, our library has it all. Love novels but don't have time to read? No worries, just plug in your earbuds, sit back, and let the story take over. Good listening, and happy hearing. The original version of Jang Yoonki's I Don't Believe arrangement and lyrics were changed by Judanian. He added in a conclusion, a type of response lyrics into the ending. Judanian's face looked a little haggard, his voice sounding very light yet deep. Compared to his screaming earlier, it sounded like he was mumbling to himself as he sang, "Perhaps my life is worse than others. Perhaps I really have no talent. Perhaps I'm destined to be a lowly person. Perhaps songs will be left unanswered forever." It was the end of the song. The music slowly came to an end as well. Jang Yoonki was already leading everyone to stand up and giving her sincerest applause. Everyone in the studio also stood up with warm applause for him. Hearing her ex-husband screaming on the show, Grandma Wang did not seem to have much of a reaction. But when he started singing the parts of his rhetorical answers of perhaps, Grandma Wang immediately held her face in her hands and unexpectedly started crying. She was crying so hard that it sounded like she would not stop at any time soon. Her son said, "Mother. So my father sings this well." Grandma Wang pressed her hands against her eyes, unable to stop crying. Old Zhu. Woo 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 woo. The feud between his parents, the complex relationship between them. As their son, he might not ever fully understand all of it, but when he saw his mother at this moment, he could guess that, perhaps she had already forgiven his father. Perhaps she already understood his father. Dong dong dong. The door was being knocked on. When Mr. Zhu went to open the door, he saw his old neighbor excitedly shouting, "Little Zhu, your father's on TV. Your father's on TV." Mr. Zhu said, "I saw it." The old neighbor said, "Did your mother see it as well?" "We're both watching," Mr. Zhu replied. "My mother is feeling a little emotional right now." Then some footsteps came thumping from the stairwell. Another old neighbor who looked to be past 50 years old came over, shouting, "Sister Wang. Your spouse is on TV. He sang really well. He sang really well. I never knew my brother Zhu had such a hidden talent. So his singing is actually this good. Did you see it, Sister Wang?" The four coaches all turned around for Brother Zhu. "You have a star in your family. Brother Zhu is really great." When the other neighbors heard the commotion, they too came out into the corridor. "What's happening? What happened? Quickly go and watch Central TV Department 1. Old Zhu's on a TV show." "What? Are you sure? Central TV Department 1? Isn't that the voice?" "Yeah, Old Zhu went and performed a song. He sang great." "Really? Ayo. I must go and watch the rerun." The phone in their house started to constantly ringing. Many of their relatives and friends were all calling Grandma Wang, and even an ex-bandmate of Judanian from his younger days called. They had not expected that, years after they had given up, Judanian had actually continued with determination to sing and perform. They spoke to Grandma Wang for a very long time, saddened by what had happened but also feeling happy at the same time for Judanian. 40 years. After 40 years of determination, Judanian had finally proven himself on the stage of The Voice. He had finally fulfilled that long-awaited dream, so what else could he be happier about than this? On TV, the coaches' arguing segment finished. The coaches were all fighting over the contestant, but it ended up with the original singer of I Don't Believe, Jang Yoonki, successfully pulling Judanian over to her team. Chen Guang felt so regretful about this that he slammed his hand onto the table, but still ended up raising both his arms to lead the audience to shout for Judanian. "Let us all show our respect to the man who has not given up on his dreams of being a musician after years and years. He sang very well. This is the first time I've heard a rock song that moved me so much. It's also the voice that touched me the most. No matter what happens from here, Grandpa Zhu, you'll always be the champion of The Voice in my heart. Judanian. 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 Judanian." The entire studio audience's blood was boiling passionately. They hailed him in unison, creating an extremely impressive atmosphere in the venue. Chapter 695, the second episode's viewership ratings released. The second episode was on fire. The Voice was once again so popular. After the program's broadcast ended at 10:30 p.m., the topic of discussion online was again focused on The Voice. The threads and Weibo posts regarding the program were exponentially soaring. If described on a linear graph, the angle of elevation would be at 10 or 20 degrees before the program began. But starting from 9 p.m., the angle of elevation was almost at 90 degrees. The feast of the voice was once again spreading through the internet. Countless people were going crazy and screaming for the voice once more. The second episode was amazing to watch. I love Yuan Tong. Who cares about Yuan Tong? Yeah, Grandpa Zhu was the awesome one. Supporting this up like crazy. I really love the Grandpa Zhu as well. How crazy is this? Grandpa Zhu was rockin' and rollin'. Countless likes for that. This episode is very impressive too. Who says that the voice's second episode might not meet everyone's expectations? It's clearly a good surprise. And obviously as awesome as the first episode. I should have known that Teacher Zhang would never let us down. Why? There is no why. It's simply because he is Zhang Yi. This name is basically a seal of quality and is synonymous with creating miracles. Having watched so many of Zhang Yi's programs like Lecture Room, Zhang Yi's talk show and The Voice, I'm beginning to realize how great Zhang Yi is. I'd heard of Zhang Yi's name some time ago and knew a little about him, but it was only through The Voice that I started liking him, though I've heard that his reputation isn't very good. PFFT, it's far worse than not very good. Haha, has Teacher Zhang ever had a reputation before? For him, he is always fighting with his fellow peers, and many people in the industry can't wait for him to be brought down, so it would be strange if anyone actually had a good opinion of him. But to us common folk, Zhang Yi is still quite a good person. He's loyal, honest, capable, and dares to do what he says. Let me just put it this way for you, my friend. In the entertainment, literary, educational, and crosstalk circles, Zhang Yi is the only person to have scolded or offended almost half of all his peers, but still survived well in these industries. No one could do anything about this guy at all. Just think about it. From all of that alone, you can see how capable Zhang Yi is. If it were any other celebrity, if they even offended someone from just one industry, they would probably have been condemned many times already, let alone offending so many people from so many industries. Only Zhang Yi has been an exception. That's why so many people are calling him a wonder of the entertainment circle, because this guy has truly been too wondrous. The Voice is really a program of very high standards. After the second episode has been broadcast, there shouldn't be any more doubters of The Voice, right? I'm afraid there shouldn't even be the slightest bit of doubt to be found around here anymore. Face-smacking Zhang is face-smacking again. I can already feel the pain of those industry insiders. Hee, that might not be true. Many of Zhang Yi's industry peers are his lifetime adversaries, so they won't just stop doubting because of this incident. I'm quite sure they still have many people who won't give up just yet. They're probably waiting for the release of the viewership ratings for The Voice's second episode at this moment. After all, the statistics reflect the situation in the most practical sense. I'm waiting for it too. I wonder how high the second episode be. The Voice is way ahead at the moment, so if there's anyone who could beat The Voice's first episode's record of the viewership ratings for the past 3 years, then I'm afraid that it can only be The Voice itself. The next day. At Central TV Tower. In The Voice's program team office. When Zhang Yi reached the office, almost all of his colleagues were already there. Everyone had arrived very early today and congregated to discuss the last night's broadcast. The second episode's recording was finished several days ago, including the blind auditions for the third and fourth episodes. The program team staff had watched all of these in the recording studio, so logically they shouldn't have been so excited about the broadcasted episode. However, there was an essential difference between watching it live and on television because the feeling and atmosphere were totally different. What was broadcast on television had gone through the editing process first, with the contestants' intro clips and their interviews added in and the overall pace of the episode optimized. The final broadcast footage was radically different from watching it live. Together with post-production color correction added, the quality and atmosphere were raised by several levels when watching it on television. As a result, when the staff watched it, they also felt very excited, especially when Zhu Danian's segment came up. Many of them even cried as it was so moving. Director Zhang. You're here? Good morning, Director Zhang. A few of them greeted. Hakiki came up and said, Director Zhang, last night's episode was edited great. Zhang Yi laughed. Using my recommendations when editing, the effects turned out rather well, didn't it? The suggestion you had before had a much slower pace. If we had done it that way, the audience definitely would not have approved of it. Hakiki gave a wry smile. My suggestion was just in accordance with the industry's recommended practices, but when I saw the edit based on your suggestion and guidance, I realized that the recommended practices of our industry are really getting old-fashioned. Zhang Yi said, that might not be true, since every program has its own style and rhythm. As long as we find a suitable approach, it should be good enough. When it came to the production of The Voice, whether it be the recording or post-production processes, Zhang Yi had strictly adhered to the version from his previous world. He fully trusted and respected the style of the version that had matured and been accepted by the audience of his previous world. Little Wang, who was not too concerned about the post-production or editing, quickly asked, "Are the viewership ratings out yet, Director Zhang?" Zhang Yi said, "I don't think so." Wu Yi gulped. "Do you think that the second episode will surpass the first one?" Zhang Yi shook his head. "Who can ever predict something like that? There's really no point in thinking about or analyzing it so much. We can only see if the audience will accept it and wait for the final tabulation of the statistics." At around 10:30 a.m., the viewership rating statistics for Thursday's variety shows were released. Zhang Yi was in his office when he found out the news. It was Little Wang who hurriedly came knocking on his door to tell him about it. "Director Zhang. Director Zhang. It's released, it's been released." Zhang Yi smiled. "You scared me for a second there." Little Wang was very excited. "Quickly take a look at the viewership ratings." "Let me take a look then." Zhang Yi took the viewership ratings report Little Wang handed to him. When he saw the first row, the words "The Voice of China" were written there. The Voice's second episode viewership ratings, 2.11%. Building on the ratings of the first episode, it had increased by another 0.1%. It must be known that this was actually an absolutely astonishing result. That's because, of this world's variety shows, most of them only got viewership ratings of around 0.5%, so an increase of 0.1% was clearly not a small amount. Zhang Yi smiled a little. "It's quite alright." Little Wang, however, did not feel that it was quite alright. Outside, among all the other staff of The Voice, no one else thought it was quite alright either. To them, the result was basically defying all common sense and everyone was getting extremely excited over it. The first episode had already broken the 2-point rating. But the second episode had set yet another new, national record in the viewership ratings of variety shows in recent years. It had utterly defeated all of the other variety shows in the same time slot. The release of the second episode's viewership ratings had given a strong boost to their program team and Central TV Department 1. Only at this moment did they finally have the courage to say that Central TV Department 1 had made a strong return to the variety scene and reclaimed its position as Big Brother. And the hero of this victory was no doubt Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi had used a show that no one took seriously, and surprisingly led Central TV to defiantly sweep the entire domestic variety show industry. No one could stop them. No one could compare to them. This was absolute carnage. It was a battle that no others had a chance to win. Online, the congratulatory messages came flooding in the tens of thousands. Although it was expected, it still came as a surprise. Not only did the second episode's viewership rating not drop, it even increased by 0.1%. That's too frightening. The Voice is going to be unstoppable at this rate. Damn. Fuck. Come and see, quickly. The Voice is defying all common sense again. Ha ha ha. Those industry insiders who constantly criticize The Voice can finally give up. Their statements will express, "We will take some days off to recharge. When Zhang Yi is out with another new work, we will be back again. A lifetime of criticism, a lifetime of insults, we will never give up, we will never waver. Congratulations, Teacher Zhang. How exciting." In recent years, many people have been saying that Central TV Department 1 is getting old and no longer has its status like back in its glorious past. But they seem to have forgotten that a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. What Central TV Department 1 lacked was probably only someone great like Zhang Yi who can turn the tide for them. Today, after staying silent for some years, Central TV Department 1 is finally back. The once big brother of the variety world is finally making a comeback. The giant is attacking again. Beware, all satellite channels. I'm delighted. Face-smacking Zhang's nth battle with his industry peers has him walking away with the last laugh again. With the excitement of The Voice, the variety show industry will once again warm up. Zhang Yi has not only saved Central TV Department 1, he has saved the entire variety world. Central TV Department 1 joining hands with Zhang Yi, the largest television network in the industry, together with the most outstanding program planner of the industry. Who could stop them? Congratulations, The Voice has set another record. 2.11%. You are really goddamn going to see all other summits dwarfed, and savor the scene. The legend continues. The Voice fully deserves this honor. Teacher Zhang, well done. Really awesome. An awesome show. Awesome contestants. And also, an awesome host. This day will surely be forever remembered in the history of the variety world. This is certainly the era that great heroes will emerge from. Starting today, the variety world has officially stepped into the era of Zhang Yi. He who gains Zhang Yi can rule the world. In the office, Zhang Yi was checking his rankings on the Celebrity Rankings Index website. In the B-list celebrity rankings, he immediately spotted his current position. third from last. Not too long ago, he was in last place, but after 2 episodes of The Voice, Zhang Yi had been soaring in popularity and jumped 2 spots up on the B-list rankings in just a short time. It should be known that the gap between the celebrities in the B-list was much larger than those in the C or D lists. The disparity between each placing was much greater. Just from Zhang Yi's promotion from the C-list to the B-list rankings, it could be seen how difficult it was. He had spent a long period of time increasing his popularity score before he successfully got into the B-list rankings. But now, after just a short time of 2 episodes, Zhang Yi as a host of The Voice, who although did not have much appearance time, with his show of reciting those advertising messages, his popularity had once again soared. This was very quick for the fact that he was in the B-list rankings. At the beginning of the year, Zhang Yi had been thinking of trying to aim for becoming a B-list celebrity. He would have been satisfied as long as he could get into the B-list rankings. But who knew that just after a short 2 months, not only did Zhang Yi reach his goal, he was already heading straight for the A-list celebrity rankings. Although there was still a long way to go, his momentum was obvious. He was already safe from dropping down into the C-list rankings due to his instability and need not worry about being overtaken by Chen Yi anymore. The show was on fire. His popularity was soaring. After all these days of setbacks and busy days, Zhang Yi's mood today was the best. He was humming a song in his office, finally able to get a breather. Zhang Yi was very satisfied of his own performance during this time. After getting past all the hard work and tiredness from working, he was already reaping the rewards. Although the people who did not like him still continued to dislike him, and the industry peers he had offended were still aiming for him to fall, Zhang Yi did not care about any of those. He clearly understood that for a celebrity in the entertainment industry, the most important thing was popularity. Popularity and fame were the bases that the celebrity needed to get a say in things. Nothing else mattered. Chapter 696, The Higher Education Entrance Examination Board's Invitation. Viewership ratings of The Voice's second episode had slapped many people's faces once again. The people loved it. The media were fighting to get their coverage out. The industry was silent in unison. Those who were waiting to laugh at Zhang Yi and The Voice, hoping that the show's second episode would plunge, were also made to shut up. Some people even sneakily deleted their Weibo posts or forum comments that cast doubt onto Zhang Yi and his new program, making it seem like nothing had been said at all. It was business as usual. Earth still continued to spin. At this point, the battle between Zhang Yi and a part of the industry was laid to rest. In the afternoon, at the bottom of the television station tower, at a restaurant on the northern side of Bai Lake, Zhang Yi paid out of pocket and gave another celebratory meal to everyone in the program team. Director Zhang, a toast to you. Alright, but I'll use tea on behalf of beer. It's the weekend tomorrow, do we still have work to do? No, there's nothing else. Everyone will have their full days off to rest for a few days. Oh. Great. We can finally get some rest. The Voice was already progressing as planned. Whether it was the production process or the viewership ratings, there was nothing to worry about anymore. Everything was heading towards the best possible outcome. It was all in control of the hands of Zhang Yi and his team. At this moment, the entire program team staff could finally all relax. Their days of being pressured by the deadlines and stressed out by work were finally over. A middle-aged female editor of the program team said, Director Zhang, I want to inform you about this in advance. In a few days, I might have to take 2 days off as my son is getting ready for his college entrance exam. Since my husband is too busy, I will have to stay and help him revise and make a last sprint to the college entrance examination. And there's still meals to be cooked too. I'm going to be so busy in the next few days. Zhang Yi wondered, the college entrance exam has not started yet? Not yet, it's only the beginning of June now, the female editor said. When is the college entrance exam? Zhang Yi asked, feeling unsure about it. Zhang Zuo thought that Zhang Yi was just joking, so he laughed. The college entrance exam is held at the end of June every year. Director Zhang, did you forget because you've been too busy? Late June? Zhang Yi repeated. Hakiki said, yes, it's only about a little more than 10 days from now. He didn't forget, nor was he playing dumb. Zhang Yi really did not know. In his previous world, the college entrance examination had been changed some years back to fall on usually the 7th or 8th of June. It had always been like that ever since. After he had been suspended from Peking University, Zhang Yi hadn't been paying much attention to news like this as he had been very busy with The Voice's production work, so he even thought that the college entrance exam was already over. Only now did he find out that the date of this world's college entrance exam was slightly different from his previous worlds. The college entrance exam questions and the order of subjects being tested were likely going to be different over here as well then. Wu Yi said, Sister Li, how's your son doing academically? Sister Li said, it's quite good, But our home does not fall under Beijing's household registration, even though my son goes to school in Beijing. For the exam, we would have to go back to our old place. That's why I'm feeling quite worried. Hakiki said, isn't it the same wherever you take the exam? Sister Lee waved her hands. It's not the same at all. These days, the questions are all set independently by the provinces. The Beijing college entrance exam is always easy every year. The admission cutoff point is also lower, so there's definitely less pressure. But it's not the same for other provinces, some are more difficult and some are even easier, so it all depends on your luck. Hakiki could not understand why. The Beijing examination is easier? Sister Lee snorted. Yes, much more easier too. Zhang Yi asked with a smile, has your son expressed a university he would like to get into? She nodded and said with some pride in her voice, his first choice is Peking University. Hakiki sounded somewhat impressed as she said, then your son must be very academically inclined. He's not too bad as long as he can fulfill his potential. Then there's a good chance. The female editor said, if my son really gets into Peking University, then I will treat everyone to a feast. That's a promise. Zhang Zuo smiled and said, Sister Lee, you should be treating Director Zhang to a feast instead. He's the one who is a true Chinese department lecturer and math department associate professor at Peking University. Sister Lee immediately smiled. I will definitely be treating. I was still hoping that after my son gets admitted into Peking University, Director Zhang would be able to look after him. Zhang Yi shrugged while smiling and said, I've already been suspended for the past semester, so I doubt that I would be able to go back to teach this year. But if your son does apply for the Chinese or math department, I still do know quite a few teachers personally, so if there's any problems, they would help me look out for him. Let's talk about that when it happens. Since you've already given me your word, let me toast you. Sister Lee looked happy, then she picked up her glass of orange juice and clinked it against Zhang Yi's glass. Zhang Yi said, I hope your son will be able to get what he wants. Suddenly, his cell phone started buzzing inside his pocket. It was a call. When he took it out to check the number, the caller ID showed Pan Ying's name, the Dean of the School of Mathematical Sciences. He found it strange that Dean Pan would call him at such a time, so he told everyone at the table to continue without him first and excused himself. He went outside to answer the call. Zhang Yi, hello? Pan Ying, hello, Professor Zhang. Zhang Yi, Dean Pan, don't address me like that, just call me Little Zhang. Pan Ying, then I will call you Teacher Zhang instead. Are you outside? Zhang Yi, I was just eating lunch, what is it that you're looking for me for? Pan Ying, there's something, but it's difficult to explain over the phone. Shall we meet up instead? Zhang Yi, what time? Pan Ying, it's best if we could meet now. Zhang Yi, so rushed? It might not be possible now, I'm still not off work yet. Pan Ying, oh, I remember now. You've recently created a new TV show and it seems like it's doing rather well in the nation as well now, isn't it? Then why don't you tell me when you will be free? What time do you finish work? Zhang Yi, why don't you tell me what's the matter first so that I won't feel so unsettled? After a moment's pause, Pan Ying said, alright then, it's actually fine to tell you over the phone since it's not too big an issue. I'm looking for you mainly regarding this year's college entrance exam papers in Beijing. Zhang Yi was taken aback, huh? Pan Ying said, I have been appointed as the supervisor of this year's question-setting team for the Beijing college entrance exam. The questions for the examination were already set and ready for the mathematics, Chinese literature, English language, arts, and science sections, including a few alternate question sets. But we have suddenly encountered a situation in which all of those question sets were not approved by the board. The Beijing college entrance exam has never been too difficult. It was going to be the same this year, so the leaders on the Board of Education wanted to add more difficulty to it. If they had let us know earlier, it would have been fine since everyone could have discussed and slowly refined the exam standards. But we don't have much time anymore. The college entrance exam will take place in just over 10 days. The tests have to be ready before that, which means we have to confirm the rough draft by next Monday at the latest. That leaves us with just around 3 days to plan, get approval from the board, and settle the printing of the papers. It seems like we won't be able to make it in time. That's why the question-setting team members are all reaching out for help from their friends right now. The more people we have, the faster we can get it done. The first person I thought of when I knew our mathematics section needed someone was you. Zhang Yi said nervously, Dean Pan, you have a group of professors, deans, and PhDs there with you. Surely it wouldn't trouble you all to increase the difficulty level of the exam's questions, would it? Pan Ying, it's different. Of course it would be easy to increase the difficulty. We could just grab anyone from our team to set an exam consisting of questions that even a research student would not be able to solve. That would definitely be easy, but it's different for setting questions for the college entrance exam. The difficulty is not done for the sake of causing trouble to the students, it's just to filter out the students to pick out who is good. That is why the question not only needs to have value, it also needs to be presented so that a high school student would be able to solve it with their knowledge and understanding. That's not an easy thing to do you understand? Suppose I throw a mathematical conjecture into the exam. Then the questions would surely be very difficult, but the students definitely couldn't answer it, and even I wouldn't be able to solve it, so what's the point in that? Increasing the difficulty is not the objective, what we want is to screen the examinees. I see, Zhang Yi responded vaguely. Pan Yang, so what do you say? Would it be convenient for you to join us? Zhang Yi, I've never set exam questions before. It seems like you really trust me. Pan Yang laughed, but I've seen the problems that you've given before. Oh? What problems did I give? Zhang Yi did not remember. The few problems you gave when you were at experimental primary school. Those were quite interesting and had a standard of difficulty to them. It's also philosophical in nature and quite interesting at the same time, Pan Yang said. Zhang Yi sighed, but those are elementary math questions. Pan Yang laughed loudly, don't underestimate that. It's hardest to set questions for elementary math. If you ask me to make a question at my own level, I can design it to be interesting and good, but that's because I am at this level and I know what is difficult and what is easy for people like me. But if you need me to set a question for the elementary level, then I will truly be at my wit's end. To me, those questions are all the same, they're all too simple. Because of that, it becomes harder to differentiate between what's hard and easy. On this front, you have an advantage as you are able to bring yourself down to the level of thinking to understand the difficulty level for them. This is a quality that any excellent exam question setter must have, and from those few questions of yours, it already proves that you are really much better at setting questions than us. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come to you for help. Zhang Yi jokingly said, you're praising me to the high heavens. I feel like if I didn't agree, I would be letting you down. Pan Yang, then it's settled. Zhang Yi confirmed, all you want are difficult questions, right? Pan Yang acknowledged, but solvable within the context of an examinee, though we prefer it to be as difficult as possible. Are you sure? What if the questions are too difficult, what then? Won't everyone curse me to death? Zhang Yi had some concerns about this. Pan Yang was tickled, the question setter for the college entrance exam has always been a scapegoat. If you make the questions too easy, examinees from other provinces and autonomous regions will scold you, claiming that the Beijing question setter has low standards and how well they would do if they took their exam here instead. But if you make it too difficult, the Beijing examinees will scold you, saying that you have something against them. So no matter what, you won't be able to escape criticism. That's also a reason why many teachers do not like being appointed to the college entrance examinations question-setting team. Zhang Yi nearly fainted. Then why did you still ask me? Pan Yang's answer left Zhang Yi annoyed but amused. You're still afraid of being scolded? Online, on TV, in the media, has any day passed without you getting scolded by a multitude of people? Zhang Yi, no comment. Pan Yang said, besides, every province will be setting their own questions and determining their own admission cutoff points. If a province's exam questions are too difficult, nobody will do well and the mean will also be low. Then the entry cutoff points will also be lower and it will all become relatively the same, so that is still going to be a fair assessment. We are not purposely trying to turn away examinees here, rather trying to see their standards. The standard of Beijing's exam has long been criticized by people, so the board has hardened its heart this year and wants to bring a change to the style and thought behind the exam questions. That is why I think you're free to unleash whatever you can think of, regardless of how difficult it is. We're just afraid that it won't be difficult enough. I am very curious about the type of questions you will create if you were assigned to present the last 3 major questions of the mathematics section of the exam. Zhang Yi thought for a bit then said, alright then, let me consult with my director at work first. Pan Yang, it's rather urgent, so try to give me your answer by today. Sure, Zhang Yi said. Actually, Zhang Yi already had a decision. Not just anyone could qualify as a question setter for the college entrance examination. Although Pan Yang had mentioned that many teachers did not wish to be one, it was actually just an offhand remark. If the question-setting team truly sent an invitation, hardly any teachers would reject such an opportunity, because it would be an honor and also a very strong acknowledgement of an educator's contributions. This acknowledgement did not mean much to Zhang Yi. What he placed more importance on for this appointment was the fame he would receive from it. In recent times, the voice had brought Zhang Yi an enormous amount of reputation and let him taste the sweetness of his popularity soaring again. But he knew that if he were to achieve his target of becoming an A-list celebrity this year, then just that amount of reputation was not enough. He had to find the quickest way to get promoted to the A-list rankings, so it was impossible to not take the unconventional path. Another source of fame would always be good. And since his work here was already becoming cyclical, it wouldn't matter to have some fun on the college entrance examinations question-setting team. He would be idle anyway. So why not earn some fame with a part-time job? Chapter 697, The Chinese Literature Team Approaches 2. After the meal, Zhang Yi headed straight to the Deputy Director's office at Central TV Department 1. When he got there, Zhang Yuan was not around and probably still at lunch. After waiting for around 15 minutes, Zhang Yuan finally returned. "Hey, little Zhang?" Zhang Yuan saw him as he walked out from the elevator. Zhang Yi was sitting on the sofa near the elevator lobby. "Director Zhang. What are you doing here? Are you looking for me for something?" Zhang Yuan asked. Zhang Yi acknowledged, "There's something I need to discuss with you. Can we speak in your office?" Zhang Yuan was already walking in front of him. "Sure, come in." When the two of them were inside, Zhang Yi got straight to the point. "Director Zhang, I need to apply for a long leave from the station as I have something to attend to." On seeing Zhang Yuan stunned, he continued, "Just now, someone from the Beijing question-setting team for the college entrance exam contacted me and informed me of a situation that had arisen on their side which they need me to go over to assist them with." Zhang Yuan was taken aback. "The college entrance exams question-setting team?" Zhang Yi confirmed, then said, "They were quite urgent about it and only just contacted me, so I wasn't prepared for it either." Zhang Yuan remained silent for a while before saying, "I heard that those who are responsible for proposing the college entrance exam questions can't return to their homes or contact the outside world even after finishing their work. The college entrance exam will only begin at the end of the month. If the Voices program team does not have their executive director around, how are they going to handle their work? Your new program has just started making good progress after 2 episodes have been broadcast, and although the viewership ratings are very satisfying and placed first nationwide for now, you can't be relaxing just because of that." Zhang Yi said, "I know that, but during the recording a few days ago, we've already recorded 3 episodes in a row, so the recordings for the broadcasts for next Thursday and the following Thursday are already finished. I also personally supervised the post-production of those episodes yesterday, so there shouldn't be any clash with the times. When the exams are over, I will be back to quickly continue with the production of the recording of the 5th episode's blind audition of The Voice. Please don't worry. There won't be any delays with the program's recording." Zhang Yuan nodded. "That's fine then." Zhang Yi smiled and said, "That's why I'm here to consult you first." "Hi, I shouldn't be approving your request for leave." Zhang Yuan said, "You should understand that the Voices program team is managed single-handedly by you. Besides you, none of them can take up this difficult task. If any unexpected situation occurs, I'm afraid the rest of the program team staff would not be able to handle it. I'm a little worried about them if you're not around." Hesitating a little, he added, "But to be part of the college entrance examinations question-setting team is also an honor and not an opportunity that comes knocking frequently. It doesn't seem appropriate if I don't allow you to go. Well, try your best to communicate with college entrance exam team to see if you can at least stay in contact on the phone at all times." Zhang Yi said, "Sure, I will try to do so." Zhang Yuan said, "All right then, when you get back to the office, inform your program team staff about it. Settle whatever needs to be settled and do a proper handover." "Sure." Zhang Yi excused himself and left. Downstairs, in the Voices program team office, when Zhang Yi came back, he immediately clapped his hands to grab everyone's attention and gather them around. "Everyone, stop whatever you're doing now. I have something to announce." Everyone looked over. Director Zhang, please speak. Do you have any instructions for us?" In the end, Zhang Yi said something surprising to all, "I'll go on a long leave for the next 2 weeks, so I'll be leaving the work here to all of you." The moment the staff heard this, it stirred a commotion. "Ah? You've applied for leave? For about 2 weeks? For more than 10 days? Who will be in charge over here if you aren't around? Man, Director Zhang, can you stop fooling around? We'll be lost without you around." From the proposal planning of The Voice to the pulling in of sponsors and organizing the preliminary auditions, all these stages of production were fully handled by Executive Director Zhang Yi alone. When they heard that he was going to drop everything at work, no one could get used to it. Zhang Yi said, "It's only for a little more than 10 days of work. Since we've already recorded the next 2 episodes, when the time comes, you all can just hand it over to the other department to handle. It's not like you all are responsible for the broadcast and other tasks, so there isn't really anything to handle either." At most you all will have to follow my plans and instructions to promote the program, clarify any rumors, handle the forums, and create some discussion topics. Surely you don't need me around for such minor tasks, do you? In a while, I'll refine the remaining work processes for everyone. If you have any questions, you can ask me now. We will discuss and solve any issues that you all might have. After 2 p.m., I will not be around in the office anymore and will only return at the end of the month. Little Wang took a deep breath and said, Then should we call you if an unexpected situation occurs? Zhang Yi said, my affairs are a little complicated in the coming days, so I might not be able to be contacted on the phone. In any case, try to solve the problems by yourselves. There shouldn't be a possibility of an unexpected situation. He only dared to go on leave for that many days because he had already thought of all the possible scenarios and felt that there shouldn't be any incidents happening. The program recording was already done. Any unexpected scenarios were planned for. If an incident still occurred, then all of you should just quit. That would mean that everyone has just been dawdling around. An hour later. A little before 2 p.m. While Zhang Yi was taking the elevator down, he made a call to Pan Yang. Hello, Dean Pan. I've settled my things over here and applied for leave already. Where are you guys currently? Pan Yang, you're at Central TV Tower? Zhang Yi, yes. Pan Yang, then let me get someone to pick you up. Zhang Yi, I can drive there myself. Pan Yang, this location is confidential, I'll get someone to pick you instead. Zhang Yi, I see. Fine, I'll inform security about it. Ask the driver to come in by the side gate for staff and just tell security that he's looking for me. I'll be waiting at the smoking area on the first floor. Pan Yang, okay, I'll arrange it. Zhang Yi went downstairs to inform security and proceeded to the Central TV Tower's lobby to sit down on the sofa there. Thinking for a moment, he made a call back to his family. Dedu. The call connected. Hello. It was a childish voice on the other end. Zhang Yi laughed, it's me. Chen acknowledged on the other end. Zhang Yi, are any of my parents at home? Chen, they're both at home. Zhang Yi, then ask one of them to answer the phone. Grandma, Zhang Yi's on the phone. Chen called for her. Soon after, his mother answered, hello, what's the matter, son? I'm making dumplings with your dad and my hands are covered with flour. If you have something to say it quickly. Zhang Yi got straight to the point, I can't come home for some days and probably can't be contacted through my phone either, so I'm informing you beforehand. The two of you don't need to work so much anymore now, right? I'll leave Chen in your care for now. She'll be on summer vacation soon, so don't let her leave the house and run about. His mother asked, where are you going? Zhang Yi laughed and said, it's something good. I was invited to join the Beijing College Entrance Examinations question setting team. When his mother heard that, she received a pleasant surprise. Really? Is it confirmed? Yay, it's already been decided. Zhang Yi said, but we will be isolated from the public and probably can't make any calls out either. His mother immediately said, don't worry, just go on ahead and do what you need to do. Your dad and I will take care of Chen, so you don't have to worry about that. Do well, son, I believe in you. Zhang Yi, okay. After the call to his mother, Zhang Yi was just about to inform Wu Zaking when suddenly another call came in. From the caller ID, he knew that it was Chang Kage from Peking University's Chinese department. Zhang Yi was taken aback for a while, then pressed the answer key. Dean Chang. Chang Kage, Teacher Zhang, is it convenient to talk now? Yes, no problem. Zhang Yi said. Chang Kage, I have an urgent matter over here and was wondering if you'd be interested in it. It should be a good thing to you. There has been an unexpected situation with the Beijing college entrance exams. The Chinese literature exam papers are. Zhang Yi interrupted, you want me to propose questions? Chang Kage was a little surprised, you're very sharp. Zhang Yi, it's not that I'm sharp. Rather Dean Pan from Peking University's School of Mathematical Sciences called me earlier to invite me to join the mathematics question setting team. When he heard that, Chang Kage laughed, how convenient then. Since the question setting teams will all be at an isolated location, you can go over to the Chinese literature team to help out after you've finished your work with the mathematics team. I don't think that will cause any delays. Zhang Yi said, are you on the question setting team as well? Chang Kage said, I'm not on a team. One of the supervisors of the team contacted me for help. He's an old friend of mine and wanted me to recommend a few people, so I recommended you. You have a high literary standard and a supple mind. Since Beijing's exams this year want to experiment with some changes and creativity, you are naturally the best candidate. So it's decided then. I'll inform them first. When you arrive there, just directly contact the supervisor of the Chinese literature team. Zhang Yi said, sure. 20 minutes later, the car arrived to pick him up. Zhang Yi got into the car and headed straight for somewhere in the suburbs of Beijing. Question setter for both the Chinese literature and mathematics exam sections? Zhang Yi pondered for a moment. Not only in the history of Beijing's college entrance exam, even throughout all the provinces in the country, there had never been such a precedent. Chapter 698, starting to set the questions. Later that afternoon. In the suburbs. At the Beijing College Entrance Examinations question-setting team quarters. Outside, Pan Ying was waiting to receive him. Teacher Zhang, you're here. Dean Pan. Zhang Yi got out of the car and went over to him. This place is really far away, where are we? It's almost near Beihai province already, isn't it? Pan Ying laughed. It's close. This is just a simple place and the scenery isn't too bad either. The two small buildings on the hill are also very well equipped with all sorts of facilities, so the question-setting team always comes and gathers at this place every year. Pausing, Pan Ying stretched out his hand. Please hand over your cell phone and any forms of communication devices to me first. There will be someone here to specifically keep them for you. Oh, do you see that front gate over there? We'll go inside from there and up the hill, but once we're past that gate, we won't be out anymore until after the college entrance exam is over. If you have to make any calls or settle anything, then do it now while you still can. Zhang Yi pouted. Do we have to be that strict? Don't you know my character well enough? Would I possibly leak any questions? I still have a lot of work to handle at the television station. If I'm not around or unable to be contacted, I'm afraid that they won't be able to handle it. These are the rules, it's the same for me. Pan Ying threw his hands up. Zhang Yi blinked a few times. But didn't you call me with your cell phone today? Pan Ying smiled and said, I am one of the supervisors of the mathematics question-setting team. Surely I need to hold on to a cell phone so that I can communicate with the Higher Education Entrance Examination Board and the other leaders. Besides, when I go back up to the office building, I will still need to surrender my cell phone, so it's the same for everyone. Sure, fine then. Zhang Yi took out his phone. If there's really a special case, then we will talk about it again, Pan Ying explained. Okay. The hill was not high. After driving for a few minutes, they reached the halfway point of the hill where two office buildings were situated at. Looking at the hilltop, there seemed to be two pavilions up top too, and the breeze up here was very refreshing and cool. All the Chinese literature, mathematics, English language and other subjects question-setting teams were situated in Office Building 1, while Building 2 was designated as the dormitory. After the car was parked on the hillside, Pan Ying lighted together with Zhang Yi. They went straight into Office Building 1 and headed to the mathematics question-setting team's office. There were quite a few people inside and even a hint of the smell of cigarettes. Most of them were gathered in smaller groups and talking away. Some of them were discussing the exam questions. There were even a few who got into an argument. The atmosphere was very tense because everyone was rushing to get the questions out before Monday's deadline, which still had to pass the board's approval. They carried a lot of stress, as increasing the difficulty along with creativity was nowhere near as easy as it seemed. When Zhang Yi came inside, the entire office looked at him at once. Professor Zhang. Whoa, Teacher Zhang is here. Teacher Zhang. Hello, Teacher Zhang. I've heard a lot about you. We're finally seeing him in person now. Everyone obviously knew that Zhang Yi would be here today. Most of them were people Zhang Yi did not know, nor had he seen them before. But even though he didn't know them, it seemed like they knew him very well. Almost every one of them greeted Zhang Yi, with a few of those who specialized in the field of math research pulling him aside for a chat. On the mathematics team, Zhang Yi was rather well respected. After all, the global mathematical conjecture Dale's conjecture was solved by Zhang Yi. It was something that many mathematicians looked up to very highly. Zhang Yi was also one of the few world-class mathematicians China could count as theirs, so he was considered to be in the Chinese mathematics world's elite. When Pan Ying invited Zhang Yi to the mathematics question-setting team, no one had any objections to it and felt that it was only right to do so. No matter how old Zhang Yi was, his standard in mathematics was there for all to see. In the group of around 8 people, even if you put them together, including Peking University School of Mathematical Sciences Dean Pan, their total mathematics standards could probably still not match up to Zhang Yi, so who would not be convinced? Soon, everyone got down to business. This question won't make the cut. Yeah, this question has little value and the direction the board has given us is to not include something like it. Most of the questions we've been working on for the past month has gone up in smoke, hasn't it? Hi. It's pointless to complain, let's just continue on from here. The question I showed to you just now, I think it has a certain degree of difficulty. Can you guys take a look to see if there are any loopholes in it? This won't do. Oh? What's the problem? It'd be fine if it was short answer, but this is a multiple choice question. With the answer options available, it would be too easy even though this question might fit better in the first part of the section. Hi, it's really too difficult to make something and we don't even have enough time. Adding up all the time we have, it's just less than 3 days' time. The other question setting teams are probably scrambling as well. Zhang Yi got into work mode very quickly. He did not say anything and only listened to what everyone was discussing with regard to the questions. He had to familiarize himself with the work first, such as the scope of the question and its presentation, etc. Occasionally, he would ask Pan Ying or the other colleagues about his doubts so that he could quickly understand this world's college entrance exam questions. In the end, he realized that this world's college entrance exam questions and scope were largely the same as his previous worlds. The only differences were the points allocation and the order of the sections. With his current knowledge, he felt more assured. Zhang Yi said, Dean Pan, I would like to take a few exams and go back to my dorm to read up on them. I would also like to have the past rough draft of the exam that was sketched out by our team. Pan Ying said, sure, they're all available. A young team member said, Professor Zhang, we're depending on you this time. Zhang Yi quickly denied that and waved his hands. I'm only here to support. But Pan Ying said, don't think of just being the support. The math team is really going to depend on you for the questions. I've already discussed this with everyone beforehand. The creation of the questions will be mainly led by you. Huh? Zhang Yi said, why would I be in charge? Shouldn't the bulk of the questions be coming from you guys while I just need to handle the more difficult questions? Pan Ying smiled. The name Zhang Yi reverberates throughout the entire mathematics field. Since you have joined the mathematics question setting team, how could anyone else be in charge of the exam? No one should be in charge except you, and no one else would dare to either, so let's not try to be unconventional. Your name will be submitted and made public as the head of the mathematics examination question setting team. For the majority of the exam, most of the questions will be set by you. I've already sought approval from the board and they too are saying that's how it should be done. Zhang Yi said, you're really ordering me about now, aren't you? If I have to set even half of all these questions, wouldn't that take too much effort? Besides, I still have to go to the Chinese literature team's office. A mathematics team member was taken aback. Why are you going to the Chinese literature team's office? Zhang Yi said, I've also agreed to help out with the Chinese literature exams question setting team. Someone said in a speechless manner, you can even make Chinese literature exam questions? Pan Yang. The other team members. Fuck. Why couldn't he set the Chinese literature exam questions? These mathematicians were suddenly reminded that Zhang Yi was not just a mathematician, he was also an official lecturer at Peking University's Chinese department. It wouldn't be strange that the Chinese literature examination question setting team would look for him to help them. Moreover, thinking about it now, Zhang Yi was also very well versed in history, so it would also have been normal if the history examination question setting team wanted him. Professor Zhang was someone who was totally different from the mathematicians like them who spent all their lives learning about math and teaching. Zhang Yi's path ahead was not much broader than theirs. Pan Ying said, then you should arrange your schedule. I don't care about what the Chinese literature team does, but over here at the mathematics team, we must definitely finish on time. Zhang Yi said, okay, I will do my best. But first let me go and take a look at the Chinese literature team. Pan Ying nodded. Fine. Get yourself familiarized with the work first. We'll meet here again tomorrow morning before 9 a.m. We'll continue discussing the questions at that time. Sure, I'll try to come up with a few questions tonight as well. After saying that, Zhang Yi excused himself and left. He asked around for where the Chinese literature team was located and then went to find the place. He was planning to make some introductions there first and get a few copies of their exams to research. The Chinese literature team office door was open. Inside, there were slightly less than 10 people discussing the exam. However, it did not seem as intense as the discussion over at the mathematics team. Everyone spoke softer and it also quieter in here. When Zhang Yi stepped in, he immediately noticed someone familiar, an old acquaintance whom he enjoyed a good relationship with. Teacher Su. Peking University Chinese Department teacher Su Na suddenly turned her head, looking surprised. Teacher Zhang? You're here too? Zhang Yi thought for a bit but realized it wasn't that surprising. Peking University's Chinese department was ranked number 1 in the entire country, so it wasn't that unexpected to have a Chinese department teacher here. When the others heard the commotion, they also looked over. Eh? Zhang Yi? Isn't that Zhang Yi? Everyone in the Chinese literature team was stunned. Su Na immediately came over to welcome him. What are you doing here? Zhang Yi smiled and said, I'm helping out at the mathematics question setting team, so I'm here. Oh, is the chief of the Chinese literature team here? Dean Chang told me to come and look for him. Suna was taken aback. Looking for the chief? At this moment, an office door at the back of the room opened and a man in his 40s or 50s walked out. Teacher Zhang, you're here. My name is Yu Fan. Zhang Yi shook his hand. Hello. Chief Yu said, have you dropped by the mathematics team already? Yes, I have, Zhang Yi answered. Chief Yu nodded and then turned around to face his colleagues on the Chinese literature question setting team. Let me announce something. From today onward, Teacher Zhang will officially be joining our Chinese literature team. When everyone heard this, many of them showed rather awkward expressions. Chief Yu then said to Zhang Yi, let me introduce you. This is Teacher Liao Qi from Tsinghua University. This is Teacher Li Rui from Renmin University. This is Teacher Ma Qi from Beijing Normal University. This is Teacher Suna from Dato. I don't need to actually introduce Teacher Su since you're both from Peking University's Chinese department. I'm sure you know each other already? Suna giggled. Teacher Zhang, welcome. Zhang Yi also played along and shook her hand. Thank you, Teacher Su. As for the others, they were not so friendly. Some of them didn't come forward to Zhang Yi to get to know him a little, and even did not bother to have a short conversation with him. Chief Yu could also see that these people from the education or literary world seemed to have some sort of disagreement or conflict with Zhang Yi, but did not say anything. He directly asked Suna to bring Zhang Yi up to date with the work they needed to do, and then headed back into his office. In the Chinese literature team, Zhang Yi did not get the same amount of respect he had when he was at the mathematics team. The reason was very simple and likely to be because a literary person was typically more scornful of others. Zhang Yi was young and did not have many qualifications, having only worked for a semester at Peking University and even getting suspended later. He also had many conflicts and scolding battles with many of his peers from the literary and education world, so even though there were some peers like Suna who enjoyed a good relationship with Zhang Yi, there were definitely more who had a poor relationship with him. Some of the literary and education world members had not even met Zhang Yi before, but already hated him. As Zhang Yi had offended too many people before, now that they saw him coming on board and joining the Chinese literature team as an exam question setter, a lot of the teachers were not convinced and also felt that he was not worthy to be here. They all whispered privately to each other. What is he doing here? I don't know. What the heck is old you thinking? So what if he knows how to compose some poems? That doesn't mean that he can set questions for the college entrance exam. He is too rash. Didn't he get suspended because of scolding others? The controversy he created after he started that lecture on Dream of the Red Chamber still exists now. There are still many critics of his theory. For someone who is not diligent academically, how can we let him come and set the college entrance exam questions? I am however convinced of Zhang Yi's standard in mathematics, which by the way he is really great at, so even if he is going to be in charge of setting their exam questions, no one would object to it. But the Chinese literature exam is different. This requires a rigorous understanding of Chinese literature and also an understanding of Chinese literature education. It is not something that a teacher who has only been teaching for 6 months would know. In the field of mathematics, Zhang Yi's achievements could be seen by everyone. Because for a mathematical conjecture or a math problem, you can either solve it or you can't. The quality is very clear there and it doesn't need much explaining either. Everyone could recognize it. However, in the literary and languages field, the standards were much blurrier. As they say, in martial arts, there's no second place, in literature, there's no first place. It was extremely difficult to differentiate who was better than another. Even if something you wrote was not read by anyone due to a lack of attention, if the experts and literature awards jury said that you were good, then you were good, which in turn meant you were a qualified literatus. On the contrary, the work you had written could be seen by a whole lot of people, gaining lots of attention, but if the industry insiders did not recognize you and picked at your faults, there was nothing you could do about it either. This was the exact situation Zhang Yi was in. As he had offended too many people, the controversy surrounding his works in the literary field had always been huge. He was young. Had never received an award before. Was a controversial figure in the industry. Just based on these 3 points, it meant that Zhang Yi was doomed to his awkward position in the literary field. Those who liked him felt that he would become part of the new generation of leading figures in the Chinese literary world. Those who disliked him said that he was the black sheep of the literary world and would try ways and means to freeze him out of the field. Zhang Yi was not surprised by the reactions. He still maintained a smile and continued doing what he needed to do. In any case, he wasn't thinking of making friends with this bunch of people anyway. He chatted with Suna for a short while to find out about the situation. After that, Zhang Yi took a sample exam and went back to his dorm in Building 2. He lay in bed relaxed and started studying the exam section by section. Occasionally, he would flip open some high school Chinese literature and mathematics textbooks for reference. Actually, Zhang Yi already had an idea in mind very early on. To suddenly scrape the current batch of exams and then come up another version that was more difficult might not seem easy to this group of exam question setters. They might not know where to start from, or there might be insufficient time to do it, but to Zhang Yi, this wasn't a big issue at all. As long as he could understand this world's college entrance examination situation and scope of the questions, then everything else would be as easy as the flip of a hand. That was because this guy's mind might not have much of anything, but a lack of college entrance exams was not one of them. 2009's Jiangsu exams. 2010's Hebei exams. 2011's Shanghai exams. He had everything he needed and more. He had even taken those exams dating back to the 90s. As someone who had participated in the college entrance exams of his previous world, the amount of past exams he had seen, taken, and studied numbered close to at least 100. What he needed to do now was to find the suitable questions and put them together effectively. Picking up his pen, Zhang Yi started to write his first question. Chapter 699, Shocked Examinees. That night, in the dorm, Zhang Yi opened the game ring and bought a memory search capsule. After eating it, he started recalling his previous world's memories of the college entrance exam questions. He could still clearly remember many of the wondrous questions he had come across before, but had also forgotten a lot of them, so he could only rely on the memory search capsule to remember them. One capsule was not enough. Then he used some more reputation points to buy another 3 capsules and gulped them all down in one go. Zhang Yi's goals were not just purely limited to his previous world's past college entrance exam questions. Many of the questions used by Tsinghua and Peking University for their student admissions and other kinds of extremely difficult questions were brought up within Zhang Yi's memory. He expanded his coverage on the quantity of questions so that he could make the questions better. An hour. 2 hours. Zhang Yi kept the lights on and worked non-stop. This question is pretty good. Haha, this question must be used. This question is fine too. Let me shortlist this first. Fuck, this question will definitely get me some scoldings. But it has to be this. What Dean Pan said was right. Other people might be afraid of being scolded, but does this bro seem scared of being scolded? He progressed very quickly and efficiently. In the process of setting the questions, this guy would even laugh evilly sometimes. Without a doubt, he must have come up with some extremely tough questions. Meanwhile, each province's, municipalities, and autonomous regions' higher education entrance examination boards were also busy with the setting of their college entrance exam questions. Some of the provinces had already finished their papers while others were still finishing up theirs. There were a lot of discussions online. On Weibo and some of the forums, all sorts of discussions were going on. It was always like this on a daily basis. Some people would discuss makeup products, some would gossip about celebrities, and some were still dwelling on the surprise of the success of The Voice of China. Of course, there were also numerous examinees, their parents, and members of the public fervently discussing this year's national college entrance examination. As the college entrance exams date neared with each passing day, the news regarding the college entrance exam of each province was also getting increasingly popular. It's time for the annual college entrance exam again. My child is going to take the exam soon, but I wonder if he can score well enough to pass. That's right, it's only a few days away. Who will oversee the setting of the questions in Shanghai this time? The questions for the history exam last year were all rather difficult. Our Greater Jiangsu Science exam questions last year were also quite difficult. It will be my turn this year to take the college entrance exam. I hope that Greater Jiangsu won't try too hard and just give some easy questions. I'm begging for easier questions. The people of Jinchai express their great stress. The people of Jiangnan province cannot help but laugh. Who's saying that their stress is greater than ours? Last year, our college entrance exam questions were evaluated as the most difficult in the entire country. No one in the entire province got full marks in any of the mathematics, Chinese literature, arts, and science sections. Even the top student had points deducted. Our Liaodong province had questions that weren't simple too. Haha, as the greatest, I have absolutely no stress. PFFT, your Beijing exams are always so simple every year. That's right. I've attempted 3 of Beijing's exams and could achieve Tier 1 scores. But when I attempted the other provinces' exams, I could only achieve Tier 2 scores. Don't you think there's too big a difference in difficulty? You people from Beijing are too fortunate. Fuck, I could do the Beijing exams when I was in my 2nd year of high school. They are all college entrance exams, but why is there such a stark difference in difficulty? I despise your Beijing college entrance exams. A certain Weibo trending topic. The topic regarding this year's Beijing exams had appeared on Weibo for discussion. The people who joined the discussion were the examinees in Beijing and their parents. I hope that this year will even be slightly easier. Actually, it's pointless to be any easier. If the subjects are easy and everyone can get high scores, it will just result in a higher cutoff entry to college. It will be the same outcome in the end. There will be surely some difference, the easier the better. Right, but I hope that the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board will maintain their style and inherit the fine tradition of the Beijing College Entrance Exam difficulty. I will give a like to all of you if the papers are strictly set with a very, very, very simple line of thought to the questions. It shouldn't be too easy, otherwise it won't be challenging at all. Agreed, it's meaningless if it's too simple. Beijing's examinees obviously had less stress compared to other provinces' students as the conversations showed. Some of the examinees were happily chatting with extremely relaxed manners. Others were positively cocky, bragging that they wished the college entrance exams would be more difficult, or else it would not be a challenge to them. The question setters are still the same old batch of people this time. Wasn't there some news released earlier? Yes, I saw it too. Someone immediately posted a screenshot of the roster online. That's right, it's this one. It's the same teams as last year. Yu Fan was the chief of the Chinese literature question-setting team. He normally sets essay and short answer questions. It's always more or less the same thing every year with nothing new to expect. I also know that teacher Liao Ji from the Chinese literature team was present on last year's team as well. His questions were pretty easy as they were basically as good as gimme questions. The Chinese team added teacher Suna from Peking University's Chinese department. And she's even a young teacher. Her standard should be somewhat limited then. I don't think she will be able to set any difficult questions. Right. It's the same teachers for the science exam section as well. The mathematics team is also comprised of the same old teachers. When I saw these familiar question setters' names, I suddenly had an unprecedented confidence for this year's college entrance exam. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, just as these examinees and parents were discussing the exam restfully, a piece of news appeared online out of nowhere. Latest news from the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board: this year's lead question setter for the Beijing Mathematics exam section has been changed to Associate Professor Zhang Yi from Peking University's School of Mathematical Sciences. When this news report was published, the entire batch of Beijing college entrance examinees were stunned. Many of these examinees and parents who were arrogant earlier were now at a loss for words. Holy shit. Your sister. Fuck your second granny. Zhang Yi is setting the questions? How can that be? You can't do things like that. That's such a dick move. What are they trying to achieve with that? Are they even leaving us a path to retreat? Of all people, why did you people find Zhang Yi? I'm stunned. Heavens. I have a bad feeling about this. Me too, why am I getting the shivers? Zhang Yi. It's over. It's going to suck. That teacher Zhang never does things predictably. Let him set the questions? Then do we still have a chance of survival? After many of the examinees from the other provinces saw the news released by the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board, they all gathered to this discussion board. People from Beijing were sarcastic to begin with. Due to their past year exams always being so simple and having little to worry about, the examinees from Beijing were bragging and stepping on people everywhere, enraging the masses. But upon hearing that Zhang Yi was going to be the Beijing question setter for the mathematics section, the examinees from other provinces all came in laughing and observing the fallout. Serves them right. Ha 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 ha. I'm dying of laughter. Pride goes before the fall. This is what it means to suffer after ultimate joy. With Zhang Yi setting the questions, there will be lots for you guys to suffer with. He is one of the few world-class mathematicians in China. Zhang Yi is such a wondrous and wicked fellow, so the questions he'll set definitely won't be any good for you. The people of Jiangsu send their condolences to the Beijing examinees. You're on your own. Good luck. The people of Jiangnan send their condolences to the brothers and sisters of Beijing. Everyone, take care. At this moment, there were still some confused examinees and parents from Beijing who did not normally pay attention to the news online. They asked with doubt, although Zhang Yi is one of the top mathematicians in the country, the questions he set might not necessarily be difficult and could even be very simple instead. Aren't you people overthinking it? Everyone is just scaring themselves maybe? The next moment, someone posted the elementary math questions that were leaked from the time when Zhang Yi presented them at Beijing's experimental primary school. The questions were, follow the rhythm and write out the multiplication formula, a set of onomatopoeic words, 1, ding ding ding, ding ding ding, 2, 3, woo woo woo, woo woo woo, 4, meow meow, meow meow, meow meow. Following that, another set of elementary math questions which were posted by Zhang Yi when he held Zhang Yi's classroom on Weibo previously were all screenshotted and posted one by one. After that, those examinees and parents who did not know about it earlier all fainted at once. Holy shit. What kinds of questions are those? Elementary math questions? Elementary your sister. This is too damn difficult. These elementary questions are already so difficult. If Zhang Yi were to set the college entrance exam questions, wouldn't it be insane? Who would be able to answer them? Oh my dear lord. Does the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board need to be so aggressive? Zhang Yi, cursing your great-grandpa. I want to cry. What to do? Why did I have to be taking this year's college entrance exam? If I knew it would turn out like this, I wouldn't have fucking repeated my studies last year. I would have just gone to study at a third-tier college and be counting my blessings now. Back then, someone mentioned on Weibo what it would be like if Zhang Yi became the question setter for the college entrance exam. But who could have expected this to be a fucking prophecy that came true? Our cursed mouths. That's right, it actually turned out to be real. The gods are out to destroy me. My math has never been good. Teacher Zhang, I'm your hardcore fan. Please don't come to Beijing to set the questions, go be a scourge to the examinees of the other provinces or autonomous regions instead. I beg of you. Among them, some straight-A students of Beijing remained fearless. Some of the straight-A students left their comments on Weibo. It's not such a big deal. They're just questions made by Zhang Yi. How different can they be? I'm pretty good at math, so no matter who sets the questions, I'm still confident. I also don't have any stress as long as the Chinese literature exam section remains easy. Yes, the Chinese literature exam questions are key. It doesn't matter whether the mathematics exam questions are difficult or not, those will still be a breeze for me. Usually, people who excelled in math would only receive average marks in their Chinese literature results. That was the reason why they felt that even if the mathematics exam questions were more difficult, it was a good thing for them as it would help mark a distinct difference between them and the weaker students, which was advantageous to the straight-A students. All they wanted was for the Chinese literature exam section to be easy. However, just a few seconds after these straight-A students had happily posted their thoughts online, another piece of news appeared on Weibo. Latest news from the Beijing College Entrance Examinations Question Setting Team. The latest update confirms that Zhang Yi has also joined this year's Beijing Chinese Literature Exam Question Setting Team and will likely be responsible for creating the short answer questions. It is understood that this is the first time in history that a person will be handling the question setting in both the mathematics and Chinese literature teams concurrently. Upon reading this news, those straight-A students from Beijing were totally stunned. What the fuck? Holy shit, Zhang Yi is also setting the Chinese literature exam questions? God damn it. Those straight-A students who were typically honest and obedient model students couldn't help but swear when they saw this. They were all shocked by the news update. Chapter 700, Operation Send Zhang Yi Home. Several reports were published one after the other. Beijing Times, several young teachers, including Zhang Yi, have joined the college entrance exam question setting teams. This shows that the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board is determined to reform the Beijing College Entrance Exam. The questions for this year's exams are not likely to be as comfortable as previous years anymore, so let's see how it will turn out. Beijing Online, a last-minute change in the exam question setting team leaves the Beijing College Entrance Exams in doubt. People's Daily Online, on temporary hiatus from the Voice of China, Zhang Yi tries his hand at setting the mathematics and Chinese literature sections for the college entrance exam. Will Zhang Yi be up to the task? The news spread like wildfire. Online, more and more people found out about the news. Yao Jiankai posted on Weibo, "Whoa, I was trying to reach Zhang Yi's phone just now to chat with him, but couldn't get through even after trying a few times. I was still wondering what happened. So it was because he had gone up into the hills." Zhang Yi's fans were also loving this piece of news. Haha, Teacher Zhang is coming up with something else again. Setting exam questions for the college entrance exam? Does he need to go that far? I'm so looking forward to it. I would like to see how difficult the questions Zhang Yi set can get. Is the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board starting to make radical changes this time? It looks like Teacher Zhang will be taking on the lead role this time. But coming back to the point, no one has ever seen Zhang Yi's questions for the high school level before. I wonder if Teacher Zhang Yi can really complete this task? Will his exam questions really end up being too difficult? I guess that's still a big question mark there. It will definitely be very difficult. I think so too. Zhang Yi's not going to be easy to deal with. Yeah, who doesn't know what Teacher Zhang Yi's style is like? It's going to be a tough one for those college entrance examinees this time. Plus it's really unlucky to have unfortunately met with Zhang Yi getting appointed this year. I just took the college entrance exam last year, but now that I think of it, my heart is also fluttering with fear. If my mother had given birth to me 2 months later, I would have to take my college entrance exam this year. This is the first time I feel like I should be giving my heartfelt thanks to my mother. There were those who were here to observe the fun. There were others who were here to make sarcastic remarks. There were also those who wished to watch the world burn. Many of the Beijing college entrance examinees who saw this gnashed their teeth in hatred. You people, enough. Don't you all have any compassion at all? Has anyone ever considered how we are feeling? In the final push before the exam, we have practiced countless times on past exams which were easier just so that we get used to the exam's question setter's strain of thought and difficulty level. But now they're changing the lead question setter just like that, yet you all are here gloating at our misfortune. Do you all even know how hard we've worked? To be put into this spot by Zhang Yi, who has suddenly become the lead question setter for both the mathematics and Chinese literature exam sections. This is as good as taking our lives. Teacher Zhang, knock it off. Could you seriously knock it off? Just go back and do the voice as you were before. Why did you come to the college entrance examinations question setting teams to mess around? Hurry up and go back to where you came from. When my college entrance exam is done, I promise that I will buy 3 TVs and tune into Central TV Department 1 every Thursday at 9 p.m. to support and add to your viewership ratings. We were so close to taking the college entrance exam. How could they suddenly change the lead question setter? This is too unfair. Such bullies. Boycott Zhang Yi. Yeah, let's strongly boycott Zhang Yi. This is numbing. We can't let this guy be the lead question setter. Calling for Teacher Zhang to leave the question setting team. Calling for Zhang Yi to leave the question setting team. +1. +99,999. Teacher Zhang Yi, please go home. Suddenly, whether it was on Weibo, the forums, or any of the big or small Taiba groups related to Beijing, many college entrance examinees and their parents started a new round of calls for boycotting. It was just over a week ago when the television industry insiders were calling for a boycott on Zhang Yi due to his disruption of the market practices. But now another wave of boycotting activities was beginning. Everyone was shouting their mottos. This round of boycott actions was labeled as Send Zhang Yi Home. The examinees were creating an uproar. Teacher Zhang, your house is on fire. Quickly go home and check on it. Teacher Zhang, your telephone bills are due. Quickly go home and pay up. Teacher Zhang, the plants at home need watering. Quickly go home and water them. Teacher Zhang, there's a drop-dead gorgeous woman at your house bathing right now. Quickly go home and take a look. There were many comments from the examinees. Their messages made many netizens who were just observing the fun laugh like crazy. One by one, more and more people began following the thread. Some of the more clever replies were even being forwarded countless times. In the present era of the college entrance exam, it had become a watershed moment in life and an important basis and formation of the current societal structure. So if even the entire society, media, and citizens were focused on something like that, then what could be said of the examinees themselves and their parents? Adding on the famous Zhang Yi from the entertainment circle who always worried others, Zhang Yi's name had become synonymous with his current topic. Naturally, the topic of him joining the Beijing college entrance examinations question-setting team had instantly gone viral. Finally, the boycott that was started by the examinees was gathering great momentum. 10. 100. 200. Numerous Beijing examinees were even starting a group boycott, calling for everyone to join into their Operation Send Zhang Yi Home, as more and more of the other Beijing examinees started to join. Elsewhere, the Beijing question-setting teams were not in the know of all that was happening. Zhang Yi had stayed up overnight to rack his brains, trying to write out all the questions. Some of the other question setters were also still in discussions about the exam questions, while some were eating a late-night snack. A few were already deep in sleep. They were all isolated from the outside world while they were here. That meant both physically as well as their communications like cell phones or the internet, so they were unaware of what was going on out there. Meanwhile, over at the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board, with the commotion online getting bigger and bigger, the Higher Education Entrance Examination Board also reacted and called an emergency meeting. There were 15 or 16 people taking part in the meeting and every one of their expressions showed that they found it both funny and annoying. None of them had expected that there would be such a huge reaction from the public because of their invitation of Zhang Yi to the question-setting team. Someone spoke but hesitated. Professor Zhang is. Another female staff member was feeling rather helpless. Teacher Zhang's affinity with the people seems to be very poor. Why does he always get boycotted wherever he goes to? I remember him getting boycotted by those people from the television stations just last week, didn't he? A young staff member gave a wry smile. But that can't be helped, can it? We can't possibly be thinking of sending Professor Zhang home. He is the country's few top mathematicians, so we can't just ask him to come and go as we like. We won't be able to justify our decision that way. If the examinees want to boycott, just let them do it. From a different perspective, this also shows that our decision to invite Professor Zhang to join us was right. Didn't we do so because we wanted to increase the difficulty of the exams? A woman said, that's true. Finally, after a discussion in the meeting, the board unanimously decided they would simply ignore the issue raised by the examinees. The next day, Operation Send Zhang Yi home was still ongoing. Teacher Zhang, I've deposited 1 billion RMB at your house. Teacher Zhang, your wife is going to give birth soon. Teacher Zhang. Teacher Zhang. On one of the larger Beijing forums, in the college entrance exam discussion group, this thread was even stick-eyed at the top. All kinds of people were coming up with all sorts of strategies and posting all kinds of wondrous-sounding ideas. However, to be realistic, everyone knew that this was just a form of self-entertainment by the examinees. Boycott Zhang Yi? The literary world had tried to boycott him before, but their faces ended up getting smacked swollen by Zhang Yi. The SARF tried to ban him, but he still did whatever he wanted to do. The television industry also tried to boycott him, but now, all of them fell silent and not a single one of them could be seen anywhere. After so many people and groups had tried boycotting Zhang Yi multiple times, none had came to any effect at all, not to mention their group now. The examinees understood that they would have to face reality in the end. Sure enough, when they went back to school for their classes, every Beijing high school teacher wore a different expression altogether. Beijing Normal University Affiliated High School. Class 3-1. A female teacher was standing at the podium, not looking too well. Class, our revision using the notes and examination guides might be obsolete already. You won't need to do the focused review plan that I designed for everyone a few days ago anymore either. There's no meaning to those assignments anymore. From here on, I will be working with the other Year 3 teachers to prepare something new for everyone to review intensely with, because I'm sure that everyone already knows that the lead question setter this year is Zhang Yi. A male student anxiously asked, how could they change the scope of the exam now, didn't they already approve it beforehand? With this last-minute change, how are we expected to be able to take the exam? That's right. Teacher, what should we do? The female teacher said, the scope of the exam definitely won't change. It's more or less going to be the same as what we have told you all to study before today. Those are the subjects that the exam questions will be based on. However, a good question setter will still be able to stop you from getting the correct answer even if they provide you with the exact subject or the proper formula to start with. It's regrettable, but our Year 3 group of teachers has analyzed that Zhang Yi is likely to be such a person. He is possibly the only one in the Chinese math field who has the highest understanding of logic operations and algebra, along with a few other topics. According to our worst-case scenario, his questions will be very difficult to answer if you just attempt to solve it using the most conventional methods. That is why this college entrance examinations mathematics section is really going to be a test of everyone's quality. At Beijing number 14 High School. Teacher, can you highlight the main subjects for us? Yes, everyone says that Zhang Yi's questions will be very difficult. He wouldn't possibly make us compose a poem, would he? I just hope that the essay questions will not be written by him. The weight of points on the essay section is too high. Teacher Zhang, what kinds of questions will Zhang Yi give? The students were talking one after another. The number 14 high school Chinese literature teacher held it in for a long time before finally shaking her head and saying, I don't know either. All you can do right now is completely memorize the entire scope of the subject for the exam, and then. She stopped there, not wanting to tell them that she could only offer them a blessing on this matter. With Zhang Yi's literary level, no one in the entire country could possibly guess the questions that he would write or which train of thought the questions would be based on. Yukai Hai. Hurry up, class. Everyone has to finish these 3 sets of exams today. What exams are these, teacher? These are the 3 most difficult sets of exams over the years in all the national college entrance exams that have been held. Everyone, prepare yourselves for this, but it may be possible that this year's Beijing college entrance math exam might be the most difficult ever. The Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board has already sent a very clear signal about this. This time, with Zhang Yi's surprising inclusion in the college entrance examinations question setting team, it not only caught the examinees off guard, even the teachers were affected and blindsided. Chapter 701, The Difficulty of Zhang Yi's Questions. Sunday. The next morning. The day before the deadline for the submission of the exam questions, everyone woke up and ate the breakfast delivered to them. Every team's question setters were called to a meeting by their respective team chiefs to begin another day of work, to compile and summarize everyone's questions, then analyze and discuss it as a group. Mathematics team. Dean Pan. Oh, you're here? Everyone has arrived. Teacher Zhang is not here yet. You haven't seen him since yesterday? That's right, I did not see Professor Zhang since the night before yesterday. I think he stayed in his dorm the entire time, then I heard he went to get more information and passed exams. The deadline's tomorrow, so we have to finish the rough draft of the mathematics exam today, or else it'll be too late. Get someone to call for Professor Zhang. Alright, I'll go. Right at this moment, Zhang Yi walked into the office from outside. Dean Pan looked over. We were just going to get you. So how is it? Zhang Yi came in with a stack of documents. It's more or less done. How's the difficulty of the questions? Dean Pan asked immediately with great interest. He truly intended to utterly depend on Zhang Yi's help this time for the mathematics exam. Although Pan Yang was one of the supervisors of the mathematics team, his expertise did not really lie in the area of algebraic geometry at the high school level. Everyone gathered around them as well. Zhang Yi said, the difficulty should be good enough. Didn't you tell me that the more difficult it is, the better? Yes, it'd be good if it's more difficult. Dean Pan said, we already have a lot of questions that are just moderately difficult, so we don't need to come up with any more of those. What we're lacking are the extremely difficult ones, so let me take a look at what you have. Zhang Yi passed the documents over to him. There's multiple choice, fill in the blank, and short answer, all of which I've proposed quite a number of. Why don't you all go through them first? I still have more if they're not suitable. A person said, Professor Zhang's really efficient. A middle-aged man said, I want to see what you've got there too. They pulled a whiteboard over. Then Zhang Yi's questions were placed on it and held up with a magnet while everyone gathered around the whiteboard to take a look. They scanned it once over from the first question to the last, all the way down. Finally, when they finished reading the last question, all of the teachers from the mathematics team were stunned for a while. This man. This question. Let me do some calculations for it. This isn't right. This is not a question for high school students at all. This requires an advanced math formula that will only be learned in university to solve. No. It even uses a formula that will only be taught in the second year of university. Why is there even calculus in this? This question won't do. Next to them, a female teacher went to a whiteboard and began solving the problem. She used a total of 3 minutes to solve the problem. It was very fast because the problem was not difficult to her at all, but the problem-solving process required used at least 2 formulas that weren't taught in high school textbooks. Putting down the marker, the female teacher said, this is not something that a high school student can solve at all. After staring at the problem and solution for a long time, Dean Pan looked at Zhang Yi. Teacher Zhang? Zhang Yi laughed. The problems I have proposed are all solvable through the knowledge found in high school textbooks. None of them exceed the scope of a high school exam. This problem might look difficult and complicated when you read it at first. I see that this teacher used several formulas to solve the question just now, even using higher mathematics formulas, but it's actually not necessary at all. He picked up the marker and started writing on the whiteboard. If you adjust your mindset first before attempting to solve the question, you would not be tricked by it. The actual, correct, and most simple way to solve this is to start from here. If you bring this specification over here to the front, then it would become simplified and you can then apply this calculation, like this, like this. He put down the marker. The answer can be derived easily this way. When everyone from the mathematics team saw this, their jaws dropped. Easy? Easy, your sister. This problem was way too tricky. After they knew about the problem-solving process, it did not look difficult anymore. Indeed, even though they could use algebraic geometry knowledge to solve it, it was almost impossible for anyone to have that train of thought for the solution when faced with such a question. Even this group of math teachers did not figure it out at the start. Let alone the students. Dean Pan laughed. This problem is interesting. That female teacher wiped the sweat off her forehead. How many high school students can possibly solve the problem with that kind of thought process? The way I look at it, at least 99% of the examinees will be stumble at this question. Zhang Yi said, that might not necessarily be true. Even if this problem-solving process is not easy to think of, there are still at least 2 other ways using normal methods to solve it. He wrote out another 2 solutions on the whiteboard using high school algebraic geometry formulas which could be used to solve the question, even if the process was more complex and needed constant calculation and application of formulas. The teachers of the mathematics team were all convinced after seeing the solutions written out by Zhang Yi. Dean Pan decided, this problem is good. It's different from all the problems we've ever had in our Beijing college entrance mathematics exams. Let's see the next problem then. The next one was a multiple choice question. This was an extremely tricky question, and if there was just a lapse in concentration, the examinees would be deceived by the 4 given answer choices and make unnecessary assumptions about the question. Even if they used the wrong answer that they derived in the first place to work backwards, the answer would still stand, which made it even trickier. Among the question setters of the mathematics team, when they were all studying this question, there was one of them who got the answer wrong due to being misled by one of the wrong multiple-choice answers. When he finally found out what the correct answer was, the teacher who answered wrong face-bombed and coughed, flushing with embarrassment. He even wished for a hole to open up so that he could crawl in and hide. It wasn't that he wasn't smart, but rather he had a lapse in concentration and subconsciously fell for the trick question. This question was wicked. Professor Zhang understood too well the mindset of the examinees and had purposely set this trap for them. If it was in accordance with how other mathematics multiple-choice questions were solved, then there would be 5 out of 10 examinees falling for this trap. The third question was similar. The fourth question. The fifth question. The 10th question. One by one, the questions were discussed and attempted. The more times the teachers from the mathematics team attempted the proposed questions, the more frightened and depressed they felt. There were even some questions that left them with a lingering sense of a headache when they attempted to solve it. But the more they felt this way, the more they were convinced by Zhang Yi's ability. After going through the last question, Dean Pan looked at Zhang Yi and couldn't help but smile. If I was given such an exam 30 years ago during my high school days, don't even mention getting full marks, if I could pass, I would thank the heavens for sure. The other teachers laughed at Dean Pan's exaggerated comparison, but they truly had a similar reaction to it as well. These questions were all too insane. This wasn't even a question of difficulty anymore. Many of the questions were just goddamn traps laid for the examinees. A female teacher didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Isn't this too difficult? Dean Pan smiled and said, I think it's appropriate enough. Since the higher-ups want a reform and are calling for an increase in the difficulty of the mathematics exam section, then these questions by Teacher Zhang are obviously the most suitable to help achieve that. Someone said, we're going ahead with them. Yes, we are. Dean Pan decided and approved. A young mathematics teacher wearing a complicated expression said, when the examinees see this exam, they will definitely be cursing all 18 generations of ancestors of the question-setting team. Another teacher laughed loudly. That doesn't matter. The difficult ones have all been proposed by Professor Zhang. We were only responsible for the easy ones. Zhang Yi said. So you're all putting the blame on me now? Finally, after another round of deliberation, the first edition of the mathematics exam was roughly confirmed. Zhang Yi was not going to bother with the remaining work left to be done and just let Dean Pan and the others handle it. Zhang Yi excused himself and headed to the Chinese literature team with another set of documents. At 10 a.m. in the morning, over at the Chinese literature team, a fervent discussion was also taking place. But this question is very good. The board says that it's too traditional and not innovative enough. I've already changed the style, so it's no longer a traditional type of question anymore. That won't do, Chief Yu has rejected it. It's the same for those questions of mine, none of them pass, so I will have to start all over again. Hi, I don't think we'll be able to make it on time. The board is asking for too much this time. The door opened and Zhang Yi walked in straight away without knocking. Is Chief Yu around? Seeing him arrive, Suna said, Teacher Zhang, you're here? Let me get him for you. She knocked on the office door. Chief Yu, Zhang Yi is here. Chief Yu came out of his office. How's the question writing going? Zhang Yi said, all done. Chief Yu immediately said, good. Everyone, let's study these questions. Suna was the most curious about the questions and quickly took the papers from Zhang Yi's hand to pin them to the whiteboard. When Liao Qi, Li Ruet Ma Qi, and the other Chinese literature team teachers saw, they came strolling over as well. A few of the teachers did not seem to care too much, as they had always been biased against Zhang Yi and did not like or appreciate him much, feeling that his abilities had been over-exaggerated too much by everyone else. However, when they laid eyes on the first question, those teachers looked like they nearly vomited blood. Suna burst out into laughter. Chief Yu stayed quiet and did not say a word for a long time. Liao Qi. Li Ruet. Ma Qi. Then at the second question, everyone vomited blood. The questions Zhang Yi had written out were questions they had never come across before. They weren't even things they had ever even thought of. All the questions could be described as totally unexpected, yet when they carefully thought about them, the meanings behind those questions were very interesting. Zhang Yi went forward and gave a simple explanation of his questions' answers and thought processes. The first question's answer is a little more flexible. It's mainly to test the examinee's thought, logic, and values. If the answer is logical and the arguments are valid and in a positive light, then we can give full marks for it. Next, we have the second question. One by one, he explained all of the questions to the teachers. After that, Zhang Yi made an excuse that he had something else to attend to and left. He did not stay longer than necessary at the Chinese literature team as he knew that a few of the people there did not have good opinions of him, so he didn't want to bother with them either. In the Chinese literature team, He wasn't the lead question setter and did not have much say. Therefore, after he supplied them with the questions, he just handed them over to Chief Yu to let him make the final decision. After he left, the Chinese literature question-setting team turned silent. At this moment, everyone had actually wanted to shout, "Fuck! Are these even high school level questions? Can it get any more wondrous than this?" 702 Celebratory Feast. Chapter 702, Celebratory Feast. Monday. Everyone from the Beijing College Entrance Examinations question-setting team felt that the sense of burden had been lifted from them. Finally, everything is settled. Phew, it hasn't been easy. It's finally over. We can finally rest for the next few days. I'm going to sleep well tomorrow. This year's question-setting work was too difficult. I wouldn't want to come back to next year's question-setting team. It's been so tiring that I haven't slept soundly for the past week now. Anyway, our work is done here and we can finally relax. Yes, we only have to wait for the college entrance exam to finish. We're free at last. Today was the day of the deadline. Every question-setting team had already submitted their tasks requirements. The main, supplementary, and some backup questions which were not selected were all sorted and submitted to the higher-ups by the supervisors. At this point, this year's Beijing exams were basically confirmed with the remaining task of selecting the questions and some detailed adjustments left to the Higher Education Entrance Examination Board. The Higher Education Entrance Examination Board and the higher-ups would decide which of the questions were suitable for use and which were not. Essentially, the remaining work would no longer involve the question-setting teachers as their jobs were already completed. From this point forward, the time remaining would count as their off days. Until the college entrance exam was over, they would not be allowed to return home. On the hill, Zhang Yi and Suna were taking a morning jog. Suna was dressed in her sports attire with a towel hanging off her shoulder. She was already sweating all over while Zhang Yi was in a better condition, not feeling tired yet. After running for a while already, he was still not short on breath yet. I can't take it anymore. I have to walk from here. Suna stopped and was unable to run anymore. Teacher Zhang, you've got really good stamina. Zhang Yi also slowed down his pace. I'm doing worse than before. In the past, I'd always trained and gone for my morning exercise regularly. But now I can't do that since I'm always cooped up at work. I can only run a few laps to relax when I've used too much of my brain at work. His stamina was not exactly good either, but at least it was still better than Suna who did not train frequently. After all, Zhang Yi was armed with some martial arts although it was still at a level where it only worked randomly and at given times. Suna smiled as she wiped her sweat away and asked, "How've you been doing recently?" Zhang Yi smiled and said, "It's been the usual stuff. I'm just doing TV shows which is my original profession." Suna said in amusement, "What original profession? I'm not even certain what your original profession is anymore. Math, literature, music, radio, television, which profession haven't you dabbled in? So which one of those is your original profession? If you didn't mention it, I would already have forgotten what your real profession is. Besides, you're amazing no matter which field you go into. You always manage to shine and thrive." Zhang Yi bragged, "Hey, I may not have any strong points but I'm really good at adapting." Suna said, "I seriously never expected you to be approached by the college entrance exam team this time. I suppose there are many people who also weren't prepared for it. If this is the signal the education system is sending out, then does that mean you're likely to return to Peking University this year? They can't keep you suspended for too long. There are still many Peking University students asking about you, her. Not to mention the other examples, but just on Peking University's official forum alone, the students have made known their intentions more than once, hoping that you will resume your duties again. Is that so?" Zhang Yi was very pleased. "So the students still remember me?" Suna suddenly changed her tone. "However, there are still some students boycotting you." Zhang Yi was baffled. "Huh?" Suna blinked and laughed. "You didn't know about that, right? When I got up this morning, I met some people sent by the Higher Education Entrance Examination Board. One of them was a university classmate of mine. During breakfast, I learned from him during our chat that you have already become a public enemy on the internet. Do you know which group is boycotting you this time? It's this year's Beijing examinees and their parents. They're all calling for the Higher Education Entrance Examination Board to dismiss and send you home. On any forum and on Weibo posts related to the topic of the college entrance exam in Beijing, there's even an operation called Send Zhang Yi Home going on. According to my sources, not only are there beautiful women lining up to take a shower in your house, there is also plenty of cash in your bedroom and an ancient tomb of the Tang dynasty was even discovered in it. All these things were said just to make you go home quickly to take a look. After I heard that from my classmate, I nearly died laughing. Your house is the subject of all verbal attacks online now. Zhang Yi nearly fainted when he heard about the situation in the outside world. What the hell is going on? Why are they boycotting me? Has this bro become a specialist in being boycotted that something like this would happen every few days? Suna said, who asked you to present those wondrous elementary math problems in the past? The examinees are afraid that you will make the questions too difficult, so they started this movement and are totally enjoying themselves. Everyone from the examinees to their parents, and even your own fans, are happily and tirelessly smearing your name, haha. Zhang Yi became even more speechless, but then boasted without shame, after this bro entered the entertainment industry, I've always walked the path of a male idol, but why is it now becoming more and more like the path of a comedian? Suna. The two of them chatted casually as they walked to the halfway point on the hillside. The moment they reached the entrance to the dorms, they bumped into Dean Pan. Teacher Zhang, Little Sue, both of you went for a jog? Pan Yang waved at them. Suna said, yes, Dean Pan. Have you eaten yet? Pan Yang smiled and said, not yet, I'm saving my appetite for this afternoon. Oh right, the both of you should get ready as well, so quickly shower and get changed. There will be a celebratory feast at the hilltop at 11 a.m. Everyone will gather to eat. Tentatively, it'll be an outdoor barbecue as the weather is quite nice today. It's cloudy and not too warm. Soon asked, is it organized by the Higher Education Entrance Examination Board? Pan Yang said, no, it's our teachers who are organizing it. We do the same thing every year. It's already considered a standard event here. There will be a list of whatever ingredients need to be purchased and some staff from the Higher Education Entrance Examination Board will head out to buy them for us. If you need anything, you can let them know and give them the list. Zhang Yi smiled and said, sure. Suna said, I feel like drinking some iced soda water right now. That will definitely be included. Dean Pan said, there are also some programs like singing or dancing. Whoever wants to participate can get ready beforehand. Don't be late. Suna said, we will definitely be on time. It was not even 9 a.m. yet, but some people were already at the top of the hill. However, Zhang Yi was not in a hurry as it was still quite early at the moment. After he had showered and changed into casual wear, he headed to Building 1. Without any internet connection or his cell phone, the only free time activity left was reading. There was a library which had many books that covered many subjects such as literature, history, social science, and many other extracurricular books as well. The book collection in the library was not only limited to the scope of the college entrance exam. There was no one inside as all their work had already been completed. Everyone had left and no one was borrowing any books or researching for information inside the library anymore. He closed the door, turned on the air conditioning, and sat down. Without choosing a specific type of book, he took a random one and read through it. Well, to be accurate, the word read was not a good description for it. He was like a machine flipping through the pages at a very fast speed. He would only take 1 second to glance at a page, capture all the words on it, and then move on to the next page. This reading speed would have left anyone stunned. Catalogue of Song Dynasty famous figures. Algebraic geometry exercises. The history of music. Key for beginners. Portuguese for dummies, Part 1. And so on. It had everything you could name. The books he read were not determined by his interests but rather just whatever he was able to get his hands on. It was totally random and unrestricted. After flipping through about 20 books, Zhang Yi stopped. He then quietly opened the game ring to take a look at the huge amount of reputation points which the voice had given him with its previous 2 episodes. After that, he immediately tapped into the merchant shop and spent 10 million reputation points to purchase 100 memory search capsules all at once. After consuming a capsule, his mind quickly recalled the contents from the first book he flipped through, storing all the knowledge into his mind, book by book. Previously, Zhang Yi had always used the memory search capsules to recall the knowledge from his previous world. But now he knew that this was no longer enough. For example, this incident of him not knowing when the college entrance exam was held had sounded an alarm for Zhang Yi. He was still too unfamiliar with this new world. After all, the 2 worlds were not the same. There were many differences like when the college entrance exam was held, the contents of the textbooks, as well as many other aspects. If he still based his behavior on the knowledge and train of thought from his previous world, he would definitely have problems with a lot of situations. That was the reason why Zhang Yi had planned on finding time to gain a deeper understanding of this world. Other than these slight differences between the 2 worlds, most other things were essentially the same. Actually, the knowledge Zhang Yi did not have a chance to learn in his previous world could totally be learned in this world. There was no way that he could read the books from his previous world or return to it anymore, but this world also had those books. Zhang Yi quickly went through all the related books or video resources and used the memory search capsules to memorize them, achieving a crazy fast learning speed. It was still many days from the start of the college entrance exam. He could not go anywhere other than stay within the boundaries of the private location in the hills. With such plentiful time, it was apparent that this was the most suitable time to do this. Time should not be wasted. There were still plenty of things to learn about. 1 book. 3 books. 5 books. In the blink of an eye, Zhang Yi had already etched the contents of 5 books deep inside his mind. He even could recite them backwards comfortably as all the information was easily retrievable. Of course, a huge amount of memory search capsule was needed for this and had to be supported by an enormous amount of reputation points. Thankfully Zhang Yi's new show contributed even more reputation points that allowed him to use them constantly. Zhang Yi did not feel pained after spending tens of millions of reputation points, as they would be useless if left untouched. It was a different case for gaining knowledge. After comparison, there was nothing to feel heartbroken about. Furthermore, The Voice has only aired for 2 episodes. After the later episodes were broadcast, there would be even more reputation points coming in, so he could stand this round of huge spending. That was why the most important thing for Zhang Yi now was to enrich himself and arm himself. Knowledge was power, and also a bridge connected to his goal of becoming an A-list celebrity. What he was doing now was setting a foundation to prepare himself to reach higher heights. 6 books. 10 books. Looking at his watch, he realized that it was almost time. Only then did Zhang Yi leisurely stroll toward the hilltop to join the celebratory feast that everyone had organized. He was ready to pig out. 703 The Teacher's Friendly Contest? Chapter 703, The Teacher's Friendly Contest? Later in the morning. 11 a.m. The sky above the hilltop was scattered with clouds, and some of the thicker clouds were floating past harmoniously, blocking off the hot sun which was shining directly overhead. With the addition of the dense shade at the hilltop created by the trees and a cool breeze sweeping through the wilderness, it felt very comfortable. At this moment, the hilltop was full of teachers. Dr. Chen, you came too? Yo, is everything prepared? Where's the bacon? Where did you put the bacon? In the second drawer of the cooler. Be careful when you open it, there are ice cubes in there. Let's light the charcoal. Wait a moment, not everyone is here yet. Haha, my stomach is already growling in hunger. Can any of you male teachers come and help us move the grill? I'm coming. The barbecue grill and food were all set and ready for cooking. Zhang Yi was accompanied by 2 young teachers from the mathematics team as they walked up to the hilltop together. When they saw this scene, their mood became better seeing this lively atmosphere. Looking at the amount of food, their fatigue from the past few days seemed to disappear into thin air. They were just waiting to tuck in now. Not far away, Suna was drinking a soda and chatting with a few other female teachers beside her. Many of the other male teachers had already opened a crate of beer and started drinking. For the past few days, the teachers were not allowed to even take a sip of any alcoholic drinks, but it didn't matter anymore now. Professor Zhang, we're over here. Right here. Many teachers from the mathematics team were seated under a pavilion. When they saw Zhang Yi arriving together with some of their colleagues, they called them over. Someone said, Teacher Zhang, I heard that the Beijing examinees are undermining you. A female mathematics teacher covered her mouth while laughing. I also heard from someone at the Higher Education Entrance Examination Board that the examinees have caused quite a big commotion. When Zhang Yi heard this, he said in a depressed tone, Hi, don't mention that. Tell me, what have I done to offend anyone? This bro has somehow offended a large number of people again this time. What did I do to deserve this? A teacher from the science team standing outside the pavilion heard that. He turned his head and asked, The science exams are presented as rather difficult, don't tell me your mathematics team has set very difficult questions too? A math teacher smiled and said, It's not just very difficult. Later you will know when you see it, especially those questions set by Teacher Zhang. Every one of them was trickier than the last. That person. About 10 minutes later, the last wave of teachers who hadn't arrived yet reached the hilltop. Among them was Dean Pan of the mathematics team. But Chief Yu, the supervisor of the Chinese literature team, could not be seen, probably because something had come up and he could not come. Immediately, the hilltop was surrounded with smoke. Barbecue grills and charcoal fires were lighted everywhere. There were an estimated 7 barbecue grills and were enough for these dozens of teachers to grill the food. The food was also abundant and could even last for the entire day of barbecuing. Almost everyone is here. Let's start grilling. Come on, come on. Let's grill the scallops first. The hot weather will easily spoil them. Please grill some big shrimp for me, thank you. Some of the male teachers volunteered and started getting busy in front of the grills. Not long after, the food was cooking on the grills, and the buzzing sound of the fat cooking emanated a fragrance that drifted everywhere. At this point, a middle-aged male teacher from Tsinghua University suddenly announced loudly, My fellow comrades, after working for so many days, our work is finally complete. From now on, we have nothing to worry about, so let's have a good time together. I suggest that we go by the old rules. A female teacher smiled and said, okay. Another, slightly plump female teacher also said, I agree. A teacher from the Chinese literature team said, seconded. A teacher from the arts team said, haha, no problem. Many of them were regulars of the Beijing College entrance examinations question-setting team. Some of them had even participated in the question-setting team for the past 7 or 8 years. Except for a few new faces who joined this year, like Zhang Yi, Suna, and some of those younger teachers, the others were all very familiar with the old rules that Tsinghua University teacher had just mentioned. Don't think that these authoritative people of the education world who could easily send shivers down their students' spines with just their stares alone were stereotypically rigid people. They would throw up too if they drank too much. Similarly, if they overworked, they would find a chance to relax. Zhang Yi was unsure, so he asked Pan Ying, who was beside him, Dean Pan, what old rules are they talking about? Pan Ying chuckled. It's not too interesting if everyone just ate and did nothing. I forgot which year it started, but during the celebratory feast after every question setting, we organize some activities like a performance, singing, or calligraphy. We split the teachers into different teams and whoever loses is punished by drinking alcohol or taking on other penalties. Zhang Yi nodded. I see. A middle-aged mathematics teacher said happily, every year, this segment is always interesting and something to look forward to. However, Zhang Yi did not seem interested. This fellow had only been staring hungrily at the barbecue grill all this while. Everyone began to discuss. Voices chattered. How do we split the teams this year? For the past few years, it was always the arts teachers in a team and science teachers in the other. But then there isn't much suspense in the contest this way. The science teachers are bad when it comes to literary activities, so it has always been the arts teachers coming out on top every year. Hey, we science teachers have also won before, alright? Haha, only once or twice. Old Zhu, you can still remember that? That was still our victory. Besides, many of you people from the arts are well versed in literature, dancing, writing, and drawing. Is there any honor in beating our teachers from the sciences? Let's be serious now, how should we split the teams this year then? If we don't split the teams according to the sciences and arts, surely we can't split them according to schools, right? There will be too many teams like Tsinghua, Peking, Renmin, and Beijing Normal University. It won't be easy to manage so many teams. Why don't we group them according to gender? Oh, right. That's a good suggestion. Sounds good to me. It'll be quite interesting if the two genders compete against each other. What will the penalty be if a team loses? The loser will have to drink since there's so much beer around. Good. It's settled then? Yes, it's settled. Come on, who's afraid of whom? Isolated in the hills, everyone's passion for self-entertainment was many times greater than usual. It didn't matter if they were young teachers or older comrades, everyone were quite cooperative. Very quickly, all the teachers unanimously agreed with this proposal of splitting the teams. Everyone immediately stood with their camps, one side with all the male teachers and the other with the female teachers. When they were all with their group, there were obviously fewer people in the female teachers' team. They were only about 2/3 the number of the male teachers' team. A female teacher disagreed with this. That won't do, we have too few people. Suna also giggled. That's right, us women already aren't good drinkers, and yet we have less people on our team. It's too unfair. Liaoqi from the Chinese literature team said, then how do you recommend we solve this? A middle-aged female teacher suggested, give us a teacher from your side who can at least drink on our behalf. After some discussing, the male teachers did not have any objections as it was only for entertainment anyway. Alright, pick a person, only one person. Hearing that, the female teachers immediately started whispering to each other. Many of the male teachers also straightened their backs in hopes that the female teachers would choose them. Being the only man in a group of women would also be a sign of popularity. Even if they had to drink on behalf of the female teachers if their team lost, it would be okay. The female teachers were discussing while pointing fingers at them. What about Teacher Chu? He's not bad. How about Teacher Wu? He's a good one too. Who should we choose? We have to get someone who can drink a lot. Or find someone who can help us to win, haha. Zhang Yi's enthusiasm for the activities was close to nil. This guy had already moved away from the groups and walked over to the barbecue grill by himself. On seeing the scallops were cooked, he scooped them up and started eating. At times, he would blow on his fingers as the food was too hot. The taste was acceptable. All that was missing was just some garlic paste. Suddenly, a female professor of Renmin University took the lead and stood up. We've made our decision. Liaoqi asked, who will be joining your team? The male teachers all turned their attention to them and perked up their ears. That female professor smiled for a bit and said, "Let's welcome teacher Zhang Yi to our team." When he heard his name being mentioned, Zhang Yi, who was just taking a big bite of some meat next to the grill, turned his head with a shocked expression. Ah. Liao Qi's eyebrows twitched. "Are you sure?" The female professor smiled and said, "Yes, I'm sure." Pan Ying said, "Professor Zhang, stop eating for now. You've just been given an arduous duty." Suna also waved at him to call him over. "Teacher Zhang, come over quickly." A female teacher said, with Zhang Yi here, at least we won't lose in the field of literature. Besides, even if the male teacher's team plays dirty and comes up with some math questions or brain teasers, we still have a 100% chance of winning. As for the remaining areas like competing at singing or dancing, those are all our forte. We aren't afraid of anyone." Among the female teachers, they were mainly comprised of English teachers, history teachers, political science teachers, and geography teachers. A female doctorate professor said, "Teacher Zhang, it's all on you now. Is your alcohol tolerance good?" Zhang Yi said helplessly, "I'm the type who goes down after just a glass. You'd have to carry me down the hill if I get drunk." Suna exposed him, "Save your excuses. When have you ever held back when it comes to drinking? Surely you can down at least 2 bottles of beer, right? Teacher Zhang, we're a group of women here, so you better not let us down." Once he was with the group of women, many of the female teachers started chatting with Zhang Yi. "Little Zhang, I'm Sun Feng from Beijing Normal. Sis Sunday, I've a favor to ask of you. Please speak. Can you help me get Zhang Yuanqi's and Fan Wenli's autographs? My children like them both very much. Aren't you their leader now?" "Man, I'm not their leader. I'm only an executive director and they will only take my instruction while filming the program. It's different once we're off stage, but no problem, I'll get them for you. Let's exchange phone numbers and I'll get someone to bring it to you." "Teacher Zhang, I want them too." "Yes, me too. I don't need their autographs, but Professor Zhang, could you help sign 10 of your own autographs for me instead? After you become an A-list celebrity, I will open an online shop to sell your autographs." Seeing that Zhang Yi was so popular with them, the male teachers did not feel too surprised at all. The most well-known person in the team of teachers was Zhang Yi. Not only was he reputable in academics, but even without his reputation as a famed mathematician, Zhang Yi was also one of the hottest B-list celebrities in the country. Many of the female teachers probably couldn't name some of the male teachers, but all of them definitely knew Zhang Yi. Except for some teachers from the Chinese literature team who had doubts about Zhang Yi and those who disliked him on Chinese literature matters, the majority of the other teachers were not prejudiced against him. Naturally, the only person who would receive unanimous votes from the female teachers would be him alone. 704 A Poetry Duel? Chapter 704, A Poetry Duel? The contest began. As they ate, everyone was happily engaging in each other with a competitive spirit. The topic of the contest hadn't been decided yet, but the male and female teacher teams were already starting to snatch things from each other. "Don't take that from me. That's ours, haha. Put down that chicken wing of mine. Damn, I barbecued that, since when did it become yours? We can't beat them. Teacher Zhang, come and help us, quick. Don't you all know about ladies first? Wow, the scallops are delicious, so delicious." Finally, the group divided into 2 teams, with one team standing in front of the barbecue pit towards the northern side, while the other team stood on the opposite side. The 2 teams drew a clear boundary from each other, not showing any weakness. Although it was just a friendly contest to relax from the tense work they were dealing with before, both parties were aiming to win. Everyone had a strong sense of team spirit and honor, well, except for Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi basically did not have any interest at all for this sort of contest. Zhang Yi wasn't bothered by anything and was only concerned with eating. In his position as the only man in the group of women, his only duty was to drink should their team lose. Nothing else mattered to him. Come on. Don't steal food anymore, it's time to compete. Which side gets to decide the topic first? Let the ladies do it first. Okay. Then we'll go ahead and set the topic. The usual rules apply. We'll have 3 judges to decide who wins or loses. In the end, 3 teachers volunteered to be the judges without needing to be chosen. The judges' team was made up of the Chinese literature team's Li Rui, a male teacher from a foreign language school, and an almost retired professor who was previously from Tsinghua University who looked to be around 60. The judges got ready. The female teachers huddled together to discuss and then came up with a first topic. The first topic will be last letter with song lyrics. Everyone will sing a line from a song and the next person must use the last word of the song to begin the next line. This was a traditional game they'd always had and something they always played. It was also the game the female teachers were best at. 1. The male teachers did not lose their morale. That's fine. Come on. Last letter with song lyrics began. The first female teacher to sing a line was Suna. When will the moon be clear and bright? The male teacher's team sent a young history teacher to the front. Bright heart oh mine suddenly awash by the downpour. A cheerful-looking teacher from the female teacher's team continued on from their word. Downpour of confusion conspire to leave me lost. With a line coming from each side, the teams were evenly matched. When the game was heating to the stage of becoming white hot, the victory came as a surprise when someone from the female teacher's team sang a line of lyrics ending with the word kiln. There were almost no songs that had lyrics beginning with this word, leaving the male teacher who was next in line hesitating for a long time and unable to come up with a line. After 5 seconds, the 3 judges announced that the female teacher's team won. The female teachers scored the first victory and high-fived each other in celebration. We won. It's too easy. Teacher Chu secured the victory. Drink, drink, drink. Losers, admit your defeat. The male teacher who did not manage to come up with a line to carry on the game took a bottle of beer with a saddened expression and chugged it down. He took great effort to finish it, clearly showing that he wasn't much of a drinker at all. After he finished it and with the alcohol kicking in, he said in a very upbeat manner, "The next round's topic will be decided by us. Our topic will be the imitation game." From his quick suggestion of the topic, it was clear that the male teachers had already discussed this while the female teachers were discussing about their previous topic. A female teacher asked, "What are we going to imitate?" The male teacher explained, "We will imitate actions and expressions. Each team member will make an action or expression and the other team will have to follow suit. The team that is not able to follow along will be the losers. This is something new. We've never played this before last time." "Okay, no problem. We accept your challenge. Come on." The female teachers were full of confidence. This first action was to be done by a male teacher who walked to the front with hearty laughter. He got down on the floor and did a one-handed push-up. This action might not even be possible if Zhang Yu were the one doing it, as it was related to body strength and muscle groups holding up the person's weight. It wasn't something just anyone could do. But it turned out the female teacher's team also had an able member. It was a young, petite, and slim female teacher. She walked up silently to the front, then got down on the floor with both hands on the ground initially to try out the posture first. Then she lifted her left and placed it behind her back and imitated the action of a one-handed push-up, persisting for 1 second before she could not hold it up anymore. It was only for that 1 second and not as long as the male teacher, but was still considered to have passed. The male teachers were amazed. "Damn. She really did it? Who is that teacher? I know her. She's not a teacher from the universities, rather she's a deputy head at the Chinese literature department of one of the high-ranking high schools. I think she has danced since she was in her teens. That's why her physical condition is quite good. How awesome. Even I couldn't do that." The female teachers were also applauding and cheering. "Teacher Ku is 2COO. Teacher Ku, impressive. Haha." Then this teacher Ku stood up and immediately did an action. She did the splits right where she was. Who's next? The splits were still a considerably common routine, but that was more in the context of a woman whose body was more flexible. For a man, even if he was very flexible, the splits still very difficult to handle. However, there were also incredible people in the male teacher's team. "Let me give it a try." A skinny male teacher came forward and adjusted himself for a long time before slowly splitting his legs apart and getting lower onto the floor. However, at the last bit of the action, he was unable to go down any further. He clenched his teeth and turned around to ask for help. "Can 2 people help me out a little here? Press me down slowly, I should be able to do it." 2 male teachers went over to help. Press. Press again. In the end, he really was able to do it. The male teacher's team cheered. "Beautiful. Teacher who really gave it his all. Really well done. I've heard that Little Who used to practice taekwondo as an amateur. Looks like that's true. Little Who's ligaments are really elastic." That male teacher got up with the assistance of his team members. When he finally stood up, he was already swaying around a little, unable to stand properly. This round was enough to cause him some pain and even very nearly took his life. The victor was decided in the next round by a male teacher. When he made the action, the female teachers all fainted at once. They saw him stick out his tongue and push the tip up and further up and touch the tip of his nose. What the heck? He could do that? That's really amazing. We're done for. The female teachers were totally at a loss for a response. They attempted to imitate the same action but failed after countless tries. Don't even mention being able to lick the tip of your nose, most people couldn't even make their tongue cover the philtrum. The judges announced and declared with great laughter the male teacher's team as the victors of the second round. Suna waved her hands and said, "Teacher Zhang, stop eating already. Come here and drink up." Only then did Zhang Yi put down the razor clams in his hands and turn around to look over. You all lost? A female teacher said, we lost, so it's your turn now. Zhang Yi acknowledged that and walked over to pick up the bottle of beer. He composed himself a little and then gulped it down in a single breath. As he drank too quickly, he could feel himself swaying a little from the alcohol and the ice-cold temperature of the beer. The contest was getting more exciting as it progressed. In the third round, the female teachers' team won. The fourth round was taken by the male teachers. After the sixth round, both sides were still tied at 3-3. Zhang Yi had drunk 3 bottles of ice-cold beer, and with his alcohol tolerance not exactly high, he already felt like he couldn't drink anymore. His belly was already bloated. But everyone else was still playing around happily, not feeling tired amid all the laughter. Teacher Zhang can't take it anymore? Haha, little Zhang can't drink anymore, let's keep going for victory. Why don't we make the 7th round the decider? Agreed, the 7th round will decide the winner. Then who shall decide the topic? I think for the sake of fairness, we should let the judges decide the 7th round's topic. Okay. That would be great. This is make or break. Everyone agreed to make the last round the decider. The 3 judges began their discussion and communicated for a long time before finally agreeing on a topic together. The Chinese literature team's Li Rua stepped up and smiled as he announced, after our discussion, we've decided that everyone compete in the final round on the topic of poetry. As for the subject, this hill we are currently residing on used to have a couple staying here. A classic saying was even coined because of them, so in accordance to this setting, the subject has been decided as husband and wife. Any sort of poetry theme will be accepted, so whoever comes up with the neatest and most elegant version that also fits the theme well will win this round. Poems? Everyone was very surprised by this. Among the judges, Li Rui was part of the Chinese literature question-setting team. Even those who weren't on the Chinese literature question-setting team had heard of Zhang Yi's reputation in poetry, so how can Li Rui not know that this was Zhang Yi's expertise? Zhang Yi had first became famous because of his poems, so from this decision on the topic, did it show Li Rui and the judges' team favoring the female teachers' team and wanted them to have the advantage in winning? But that was not it. Quite a few people knew that Li Rui was not especially fond of Zhang Yi's poems and had also criticized Zhang Yi on the internet when Zhang Yi was involved in the scolding battles with his literary circle peers. Besides, Liao Qi and a few of the Chinese literature team teachers like Liao Qi and Ma Qi had clashed with Zhang Yi privately over the college entrance exam work that they had been working on the past few days. They felt that Zhang Yi's literary standards had been deified too much by people. Even though they admitted that Zhang Yi's literary standards were high, they did not think that Zhang Yi was as great as what everyone thought him to be. They did not believe that he deserved the status he was revered with. At the top of the Great Pyramid of the literary circle, there were only a few surviving masters. While many people mentioned Zhang Yi in the same breath with those masters, they did not feel that Zhang Yi was qualified enough. Then what was the meaning of this topic? Suddenly, Liao Qi came forward and said, "Send me up for this round." When everyone saw that, they were suddenly enlightened and could roughly understand what was going on. It was no wonder that Li Rua had chosen to use poetry as the topic. It was because those people from the Chinese literature team were not convinced of Zhang Yi's talent and wanted to use this chance to test him and go up against him. They had come prepared and even came up with a subject that was rather subtle. Everyone knew that Zhang Yi's standard in poems specializing in scolding was very high, so they were not careless either and did not clash head-on with Zhang Yi. As such, they had chosen the theme of husband and wife for the subject. This theme was something that had never been reflected in Zhang Yi's previous works before. They were trying to limit his skills so that they could beat him. Chapter 705, Little Zhang Unleashed. At the top of the hill, the atmosphere among the teachers was suddenly lively. How interesting. Yeah, a poetry duel? That is playing to Zhang Yi's strength. Teacher Liao isn't bad either. Teacher Liao Qi is not only an associate professor at Tsinghua University, he also holds a position in the Poetry Association, so his standards are really high too. But he still won't match up to Zhang Yi. Don't you know what sort of level Zhang Yi is at? Haha, that may not necessarily be true. Teacher Liao is not weak either. It's just that Teacher Liao's works are more artistic, unlike Teacher Zhang's poems which are essentially tuned for the masses, so they are not so widespread and well known by people. That is why we can't say that Teacher Liao's standards are inferior to Zhang Yi. Yeah, I think there could be a little competition between the two of them. Looks like Teacher Liao prepared ahead of time. That's right, to even dare to have a contest in poetry with Zhang Yi, he must definitely have come prepared. Looks like there's something we can look forward to here. Start the duel then. Teacher Zhang, go out. Teacher Liao, come on. Quite a few people started to cheer them on in full anticipation. However, Suna winked a few times at Zhang Yi with full intent. She was also a part of the Chinese literature question-setting team and naturally knew that some teachers had some issues with Zhang Yi, a minority group of Chinese literature teachers from Tsinghua and Renmin University led mainly by Liao Qi. They were very unhappy with the fact that a tumor of the literary and educational world like Zhang Yi was flourishing so well, so when the few of them suddenly created such a showdown during the contest, she suspected that they were surely up to no good. She wanted to remind Zhang Yi to be careful. As for his poetry, Suna was not the least bit worried since she clearly knew Zhang Yi's abilities. Behind Zhang Yi, two Peking University female teachers quietly tapped on Zhang Yi to remind him as well. From this, it could be seen that even though everyone was getting along harmoniously, speaking and laughing together with all the activities from earlier, it was all just fun and games. Now that this topic had been brought up, the atmosphere was no longer the same. This was the real thing. It felt like they truly wanted to challenge Zhang Yi. Naturally, most of the Peking University teachers were on the side of Zhang Yi. Peking University had long been old foes with Tsinghua University. When something like this happened, it was always clear to everyone where they should stand. Judge Li Ru asked, "Has the male teachers team chosen their representative for this round?" Liao Qi nodded. "How about the female teachers team?" Li Ru turned his head and looked at the other side. A female teacher from Tsinghua University smiled and said, "Our side is definitely sending Teacher Zhang out to compete this round. I don't think I need to further explain Teacher Zhang's poetry standards, do I?" On the other side, a male teacher from Tsinghua University also chimed in, "Right, I've long heard of Teacher Zhang's abilities to compose a poem as soon as he lifts up the brush. Come forward then, Teacher Zhang." The several Tsinghua University teachers began echoing each other, some praising first before attacking. But who would have expected the following to happen? When Zhang Yi heard them, he gave a wave of his hands and said, "I'm not going to. I'd said earlier that I would be on this team only to help the ladies drink if they got punished. I'm a guy here and not truly a part of the female teachers team." Li Rua smiled. "The female teachers team has already claimed you, so you're part of the group. Since everyone is recommending you, why don't you step up and take part in this final round?" Zhang Yi was standing in front of the barbecue grill and only cared about cooking the meat. "You girls go ahead, I just want to eat my meat. My poetry is just so-so anyway." He was totally unable to garner any interest in this poetry contest. "Oh, right, Teacher Suna's standard is very high, so why don't we get Teacher Su to do it?" Suna was speechless. "Why do I have to do it?" Zhang Yi kept pushing it around, not wanting to take responsibility at all. If it were anyone else trying to evade the responsibility, everyone would surely think that the person was not confident, was afraid to lose, or feared losing face, and thus did not dare to take up the challenge. But when it was Zhang Yi doing the evading, no one thought in that way at all. This was because Zhang Yi's poetry composition standards were something everyone already knew about. Those works, like The Furthest Distance in the World, Dead Water, Admiring the Mountains, were there for everyone to see and were brilliant works without a doubt. It was impossible for Zhang Yi to not be confident or afraid to lose. The only reason he did not take up the challenge was he was not interested or wasn't in the mood to do so. Everyone hooted. "Zhang Yi, get up there. If you don't go, there will be no one representing the female teachers. Yeah, you're the only person on the female teachers team who is well versed enough at poetry. This is the final round, it's even the decider of the overall winner. We're all having so much fun, so Teacher Zhang, you will surely honor that, won't you? Right, let's have a good contest." After dragging on for a long time. Seeing the situation, Liao Qi from the male teachers team suddenly said, "Since there's no decision on who is to represent the female teachers team, then I will just have to shamelessly go first." "The theme is husband and wife?" Judge Li Rua said, "Correct." Liao Qi asked, "Do we have a brush and ink?" "Yes." A teacher said with some laughter nearby. "It was specially prepared for the typical contest. I knew that there would surely be something like this today, so I prepared it ahead of time. There. Everything is laid out now." He laid them out with the help from a few other teachers and even the table was set up. Of course, since they were in an isolated location on a hill, they were not too fastidious about the details of these tools and equipment. Everything were just the simplest items they could get their hands on. Everyone was looking forward to the contest. It's starting. Teacher Liao seems very confident. Who do you all think will win? If Zhang Yi does it, then the chances of him winning are larger. But if Zhang Yi doesn't want to take part, then there's not likely anyone on the female teachers team who can beat Teacher Liao at this. That's what I think too. The theme of the poem has to be related to husband and wife. This won't be easy. Under the attention of all the teachers, Liao Qi of Tsinghua University's Chinese department slowly walked up to the table and stood there stolidly. He composed himself for a moment, and as though with great thought, a glimmer of bright light shone from his eyes as he held the brush firmly in his hands. He looked like he already had something in his mind and began writing. Keishu, regular script, characters vividly came to life on the scroll. 1. We tied up our hair to become husband and wife. Our love and affection we never doubted. Without a pause, the poem was written out in one go. When Liao Qi finally lifted his hand and put down the brush, the observing crowd couldn't help but cheer. Great. This poem is too beautiful. It fits the theme perfectly. The couple's mutual feelings for each other were described too vividly. This is so great. This poem is really quite good. It rhymes well, the theme is clear and fits the mood perfectly. There's nothing to nitpick at all. This poem is sure to win. Teacher Liao's really skilled at this. Yeah, even if Zhang Yi were to step forward now, he might not win. That's true, even if Zhang Yi were to write the next poem, how much better could it get than this? That's not true. Zhang Yi's poems usually bring with them a certain strength I think can be better than this one. For the same thing, the benevolent sees benevolence and the wise sees wisdom, I suppose. When it comes to art, it has always been difficult to say who is better. In any case, I feel that Teacher Liao's poem is as good as perfect. 2. Machi from the Chinese literature team started clapping. Professor Liao, great poem. Judge Li Ru also applauded and gave his acknowledgement. How wonderful. Liao Qi smiled slightly. Thank you everyone. The mood just came to me and I was able to freely express it well enough. At this moment, the young male teacher from the judging team looked in the direction of the female teacher's team with a smile and said, who will you all be sending out? The tropic has a time limit of 10 minutes, so if no one is going to do it, will you be drinking instead? Liao Qi smiled in the direction of Zhang Yi. The others also mostly focused their attention to Zhang Yi. But it was like Zhang Yi did not notice them at all. His back was still facing them as he continued eating. He gobbled up the scallops and oysters by the mouthful like a glutton who could never eat enough. It was like he was either acting high and mighty or purposely keeping a low profile. It was really just because he could not get into the mood to duel with poetry today. Was there any meaning to this? A big sister figure on the female teacher's team walked over. Little Zhang. Zhang Yi mumbled as he continued eating. What's the matter? The big sis didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Stop eating. We're going to lose if this goes on. It's always been an annual tradition that the losing team also has to perform a group punishment besides drinking. Sometimes we have to do a group dance or a group run, and that's really quite embarrassing. Zhang Yi acknowledged her and just continued to eat. Suna also came over. Teacher Zhang, go up. It's your turn. Zhang Yi said with some amusement, you're quite good at poems too. Why don't you do it and I will support you? Suna could only helplessly smile at that. My level of poetry composition should not be shown on any stage whatsoever. Besides, I've already seen Teacher Liao's poem and it's at least 5 grades higher than my level. I don't want to embarrass myself. We're all depending on you, Teacher Zhang. You have to win this round for us. Yeah, come on, Zhang Yi. Teacher Zhang, hurry up. We're relying on you. Stop eating already. Hurry up and go win. Many of the female teachers were constantly nagging him. Some of the younger female teacher might find winning to be more important, probably because they didn't want to perform the punishment and just wanted to quickly win the round. Suddenly, a young male teacher from Tsinghua University shouted from his group, if Teacher Zhang does not dare to take the challenge, then we should just get someone else. Liao Qi smiled at that. Li Ru and the minority group of people from the Chinese literature team were also watching the fun. Doesn't dare to? Doesn't dare to take the challenge? When Zhang Yi heard that, he looked in the direction of where the voice came from and let out a laugh. I know you're trying to goad me into taking the challenge. Do you think that this kind of goading will work on me? Then he put down the food he had in his hands and went over. Yes, it works very well on me. Suna, PFFT. Liao Qi. Li Ru. The female teachers were highly amused by this. Wiping his hands clean, Zhang Yi walked up to the table and confirmed with the 3 judges, the theme is husband and wife, right? There are no other restrictions on the poem type? Li Ru answered, yes. Zhang Yi nodded and lifted up the brush. With that, everyone came together to surround Zhang Yi at once, sticking out their necks and trying to glimpse the zhuan paper. Liao Qi and the others were also in the crowd. Even with so many people watching, Zhang Yi still looked very listless, clearly not too excited by everything that was happening. It was like he just casually picked up the brush without even thinking and just started scribbling onto the zhuan paper. It was Zinke, 3. Gazing with dry eyes over the span of mountains and rivers, how many a bosom friend have I met thus far? Chapter 706, Husband Missing Wife. He put down the brush. The composition was complete. When the first line of this poem was initially revealed, no one could see anything good about it. Everyone first noticed Zhang Yi's aesthetically pleasing characters, and when he wrote out the rest of the characters with an unrestrained, elegant motion of the brush despite his body looking extremely relaxed, many of the young female teachers who were observing started exclaiming excitedly. A few of the teachers and professors who were professionally trained in calligraphy also had stunned expressions. They rushed closer to have a clearer look, then looked even more stunned. These words. This calligraphy skill is so high level. An amateur hobbyist would not be able to write in this manner. Is that Zinkai? I've never seen such a style of Zinkai before. It feels a little similar to the traditional Xingxia style, but yet a little different. 1. The characters are beautifully written. I didn't expect that Zhang Yi could write such a good calligraphy piece. It's also my first time learning that teacher Zhang's calligraphy skills are at such a high level. Everyone was stunned at what they were seeing. Liao Qi raised an eyebrow, looking rather surprised as well. The several Tsinghua University teachers all looked at one another. Only Suna's expression did not change. Previously at the Calligraphy Association's anniversary gathering, which was also a day to celebrate Wuzaking and another calligraphy master's birthdays, Suna and many others from the Calligraphy Association had all witnessed Zhang Yi's calligraphy skills. Suna felt that the best work by Zhang Yi was that poem called Ode to Milan. All the unique styles of Zhang Yi's writing were reflected in this work. This was a style unique to Zhang Yi. No one could write in the same way as him even if they imitated such a style directly from his works. Clearly, no one from this world knew that Zhang Yi's calligraphy was imitated from the handwriting style of his previous world's famed calligraphy master, Wang Zizi, the sage of calligraphy. Even though Zhang Yi had not eaten enough calligraphy skill experience books yet, and was still lacking quite a bit of soul, as long as he could achieve 20% of Wang Zizi's calligraphy style, it would be enough to shock the people of this world. The title of Sage of Calligraphy was not for nothing, and not self-proclaimed by Wang Zizi himself, but affirmed by history itself. It's so good. These words are really feast for the eyes. If this were a contest of calligraphy, Professor Liao would have been utterly defeated. Yeah, but the topic is still on poetry. Many people were full of praise, but after having their breath taken by Zhang Yi's calligraphy skills, everyone slowly began to notice Zhang Yi's poem. They wanted to know how Zhang Yi would perform with the theme of husband and wife he was unfamiliar with. Suna squeezed to the front. Dean Pan also went forward. The poem read like this. Husband missing wife gazing with dried eyes over the span of mountains and rivers, how many a bosom friend have I met thus far? The pot empty, afraid of pouring wine, difficult to pen my reply. Journeyed away from the living for a long time, without news I slowly return home. The lamp serves as my companion on lonely nights, I am thinking of you, my wife and son. After he finished, Zhang Yi even left his signature on the piece. After a final glance at his work, Zhang Yi nodded with satisfaction and put down his brush. Then he strolled toward the surrounding crowd and squeezed past them to make his way back to the barbecue grill to continue eating, this time attacking the grilled mushrooms. The remaining crowd cheered. Great poem. The entire poem revolves around the missing character. It embodies the husband's thoughts and feelings for his wife and was described in such a lonely but beautiful manner. Awesome. I'd thought that Teacher Liao's poem had already reached the peak of perfection. Who knew that Teacher Zhang is indeed Teacher Zhang? He thoroughly deserves his reputation. It's not any worse in comparison to Teacher Liao's poem. Moreover, Zhang Yi is not even married yet, so this theme of husband and wife was already a topic not in his area of expertise. If we consider that point and include the fact that this was an improvised work, then it shows even more clearly how skillful Zhang Yi is. Professor Zhang is still so full of literary talent. Well composed. This poem is just like his calligraphy skill, they're both amazing. Beautifully executed, Teacher Zhang. Haha. Dean Pan nodded firmly, giving his approval. Suna gave Zhang Yi a thumbs up from afar. Most of those in the female teacher's team also happily started dishing out their praise. As expected, Zhang Yi did not disappoint them, he did not let them down at this critical juncture. A female teacher laughed, I guess we won this final round? Machi from the Chinese literature team frowned. What do you mean by you all won it? Teacher Liao's work is also very good. At least in terms of usage of words, I find Teacher Liao's phrasing to be more sophisticated. A male teacher from Tsinghua University nodded with a smile. I also find Teacher Liao's poem to be better and more beautiful. Suna disagreed. Of course it's Teacher Zhang's poem that's better. No question. A female professor looked at the male teacher's team and said, Whoa, you guys don't want to admit that you've lost now? Why do we have to admit that we lost? Teacher Liao has indeed composed his poem quite well, so it's still very difficult to say who has won or lost yet. After all, when it comes to art, it's very difficult to distinguish who is better. Everyone has their own views and opinions, someone from the male teacher's team said. An older professor who was very qualified commented, That's true. In my opinion, each of these two poems have their strong points that stand out. It isn't easy to come to a clear conclusion as to which is better, so why don't we leave this to the judges? We will let the 3 judges vote and whichever work gets more will win. Sure. Let's leave it to the judges then. Agreed. Zhang Yi will definitely win. It has to be Teacher Liao who wins it. Everyone looked to the judges, eager to find out the result. Liao Qi was also very concerned about the results, but did not show it on his face. But compared to Liao Qi and a few other Tsinghua University teachers, Zhang Yi was even more indifferent. After completing his job, he left it all behind and went straight back to eating and drinking. At this moment, the young male teacher judge said something. In my opinion, I still think that Teacher Zhang's husband missing wife is better. Compared to the other poem, I enjoyed the mood of this poem more. The female teacher's team suddenly laughed happily at this. That's how it should be. Well said. Then the next judge, Li Rue, said, I don't quite agree as I feel that both poems carry the mood quite similarly. However, I find Teacher Liao's poem to be clearly more suited to the theme of husband and wife. In his poem, it greatly shows the theme with the husband, wife, and love written into it. But Teacher Zhang Yi's poem is more written from the perspective of the husband and only expresses one side of the pair's feelings. The poem is still good, but in the context of the theme, Teacher Liao's poem definitely takes it. Many of those who heard this judgment also thought that this was a logical argument. That's true. Yeah, Teacher Liao's poem is more complete and in line with the theme. Yes, regardless of how Teacher Liao's other poems are, this one today is really quite well written. Li Rue voted for Liao Qi. Zhang Yi and Liao Qi were now at a draw with the votes at 1-1. It was all down to the last judge's decision. The last judge was the comparatively older professor who walked up over to the 2 poems which had been hung up vertically to take a closer look at them. He then turned around with a helpless smile. I can't decide which is better. Both are beautiful to read, so why don't I abstain from voting and we'll make this a draw? Draw? Man. Then who's the winner? I guess that just means there's no winner or loser. Then will we be adding another round to the contest? Let's just leave it as a draw. Hi, we nearly did it, hee. I was still hoping to see the male teacher's team perform square dancing. 2. The contest finally ended with a draw. This was a result many people could accept. It was just a game after all, so as long as they were not judged to have lost and had to be punished, then it would be fine. Liao Qi did not have any issues with this either. To be able to come up against Zhang Yi and walk away with a draw was a result he could wholly accept. At the moment, he and a few other Tsinghua University teachers all shot a belittling glance at Zhang Yi. As expected, just like Liao Qi and a minority of them thought, Zhang Yi did not turn out as legendary as they claimed. If it really had to be said, at most Zhang Yi could be considered a very excellent literary artist. A master? He's not at that level yet. Even Liao Qi's poem could draw level on terms with his, so how could Zhang Yi be considered on the level of a master? His standard was only so-so. Much he said with the intention of bootlicking. I can see that Teacher Liao has surpassed himself and gone a level higher already. Will this be the path you will be walking down more often from now on? Liao Qi laughed and waved it off. Me? I think it's better for me to keep teaching with honest intentions. Composing poetry and such things should just remain a hobby for me. I wouldn't do this professionally. Li Rue also smiled and said, for an amateur to write at such a good level, you're making us feel embarrassed. Several of the Tsinghua University teachers also gradually chipped in with their flattery. Over at the other side, Suna had walked up to Zhang Yi from behind. Still in the mood to eat? Zhang Yi grunted out a yes. I've been using my mind too much for the past few days. I don't really know why I am feeling so hungry, but I've probably spent too much energy thinking. Not only was he tired from thinking about the question setting for the exams, he had also done some speed learning this morning using the memory search capsules. Suna pouted, they've already come to a judgment over there. It's a draw. Zhang Yi smiled. I heard it. If it's a draw, so be it. This poem of yours today was indeed not bad, but compared to your previous works, I feel that you have not fulfilled your potential, Suna said helplessly. You're usually more competitive than this, but look at you today. It seemed like you didn't care at all. I don't think you even gave it any thought when you were writing this poem, right? You just casually picked up the brush and composed it. If you had been more serious, how could you possibly not beat Teacher Liao? This isn't your usual standard at all. I can't beat him? I composed it offhandedly? Zhang Yi smiled without saying a word. He did not offer any arguments to that. Beside them, a few Peking University female teachers also said, Hi, Teacher Zhang, you've really underestimated your opponent today. Teacher Liao obviously came prepared, yet you didn't do your best. With your reputation, a draw would already mean that we lost. If it gets out that Teacher Liao's poetry standards are on equal standing with you, Teacher Liao would get all the attention. By then, everyone might even think that we all from Peking University aren't a match for them from Tsinghua University. Suddenly, someone appeared walking up the hill towards them. It was the Chinese literature question-setting team's Yu Fan. Prior to this, Yu Fan was busy with the examination work and thus came rather late. When he arrived, he was a little taken aback by the scene. He smiled and asked, "What's the matter? Was there a contest again? Who won this year? How did you all divide up the teams?" Li Rui smiled and said, "It's a tie this year." Yu Fan blinked. "You can even manage to tie?" Machi said, "In the final round, both teams finished with a draw." A summary of the situation was related to Chief Yu. Chief Yu's interest perked and he went forward. "Let me have a look." Chapter 707, Marvelous, Hidden Palindrome Poem. The contest ended. Everyone was back to speaking in joyful manners with each other. Machi said to Chief Yu, "We were divided by gender into two teams, but because the female teacher's team do not really know how to drink, Zhang Yi was pulled over to join their team." The final round was a contest between Teacher Liao and Teacher Zhang. Chief Yu said a little taken aback, "What did they compete on?" Machi said, "Poetry, with the theme of husband and wife." Chief Yu looked to Liao Qi and smiled. "Old Liao is back to writing poetry?" Liao Qi smiled and said, "Yes, it was spontaneous and not something that can't be presented on the professional stage." "Chief Yu, you're the professional here, why don't you look over my piece and give me some pointers?" Chief Yu waved it off, feeling flattered. "I sure can take a look, but I don't dare claim to be able to give any advice. If we're talking about writing poetry, you're at a higher level than me." Liao Qi laughed heartily. "Chief Yu, you're being modest." At this moment, Suna came over to join them. "I still feel that Teacher Zhang's poem is better. Chief Yu, since you're here, why don't you give us your opinion? You're definitely the authoritative figure in this area." A female teacher from Peking University also added, "Yes, please take a look." As the Chinese literature question-setting team's chief and the supervisor, Yu Fan's qualifications were unquestionable. In the Chinese literature team, he was definitely among the top few members. Whether it was in the education or academic world, he had had many great achievements in them. On the literary front, everyone had complete conviction in Chief Yu. Since nobody could agree on who won or lost and stuck to their own opinions of whom was better, then why not let an expert give his views instead? Chief Yu agreed, "Sure." In the blink of an eye, he was walking toward the two poems that were hung up. Everyone else also came up behind, surrounding him not too far away. "We tied our hair to become husband and wife, our love and affection we never doubted." When Chief Yu read these lines out loud, he couldn't help nodding agreeably. "Fine poem." Then he turned his head to look at the other poem. Gazing with dry eyes over the span of mountains and rivers, how many a bosom friend have I met thus far? After reading the poem, Chief Yu was suddenly silent. He stared at the poem for a long time and did not give any comments or say that it was a fine poem like he did for Liao Qi's work. Instead, he seemed to have become lost in thought. Everyone saw, but did not understand what was going on. "What's happening? I don't know. Is there something wrong with Zhang Yi's poem? Why isn't Chief Yu saying anything?" Li Rui from the Chinese literature team blinked, then said to Chief Yu, "Teacher Zhang's poem did not touch clearly on the theme of the subject. It's not complete enough as it only depicts the feelings of the husband and not the wife's. Comparatively, Teacher Liao's poem is complete, and even though it was decided that this was a draw, I still feel that Teacher Liao has won this round." Machi said, "If they were contesting calligraphy skills, then needless to say, Zhang Yi's calligraphy skill is already at a very high level. It's not something an amateur can come up against, but if we are talking about the poem alone, then I also think that Teacher Liao has won." Chief Yu still maintained his silence. 1 second. 2 seconds. 3 seconds. Suddenly, Chief Yu gaze lit up and he unexpectedly turned around to ask, "This was written by Teacher Zhang Yi?" Li Ru answered with some reservation, "Yes." Chief Yu sucked in a breath, then turned his head back around and continued staring at that poem. The longer he looked at it, the more shocked he felt, and the more wry his smile became. Everyone was confused as they did not understand what Chief Yu was doing. Dean Pan finally said, "Old Yu, what are you daydreaming about? Which of the poems are better? Spit it out." Dean Pan was not knowledgeable about poetry and such, having only been around numbers all his life. Hearing that, Chief Yu smiled as he shook his head. "Whose poem is better?" "Yeah, that's right. Chief Yu, stop keeping us on our toes. So whose poem is better? It should be a draw, right?" Everyone was extremely curious and wanted to know. When Chief Yu finished listening to all they had to say, he broke out into laughter. "If we're talking about whose poem is better or of a higher standard, Then I really am unable to pass judgment on that, because the difference between these two poems are not simply just a grade or two. These two poems are basically worlds apart. A draw? A tie? Which of you decided on that? He said with an amused expression. Liru exclaimed, worlds apart? Machi was stunned. Surely it's not to that extreme? So Huan? Chifu did not even think and just replied, do you even need to ask Huan? It's obviously Teacher Zhang's poem that won, and it won by a difference that one cannot even begin to imagine. The difference between these two poems is not simply just a level or two. When Liao Qi heard this, his expression immediately turned dark. Oh? Zhang Yi, who wasn't too far away from them, also heard this and glanced at them. Suna was also very surprised at this. I do think that Teacher Zhang's husband missing wife is better, but it's still just a little better. Surely it can't be that much better, can it? Dean Pan asked, is there really such a great difference? A female teacher asked, surely that's not true, is it? A male teacher from Tsinghua University said, aren't these two poems quite similar to each other? How did you reach such a conclusion? Many people were once again looking at Zhang Yi's husband missing wife because of Chi Fu's comments. They wanted to look at it in detail, but could not understand no matter how hard they tried. Moreover, as Li Rue said, if they really wanted to quibble over the matter of the usage of words, then Zhang Yi's husband missing wife definitely didn't suit the theme too well, so why did his poem get so revered by Chi Fu? This poem clearly had a flaw, didn't it? Chi Fu glanced at Li Rue and said, you were saying earlier that Teacher Zhang did not fully touch on the theme? It wasn't complete? Li Rue said, yes, I really don't understand why you are praising husband missing wife so much. If this poem had another part depicting the wife's feelings for her husband on top of his feelings for her, then it would be complete and would be able to match up to Teacher Liao's work. After all, this isn't an open topic that one can freely decide what to write, but is limited to the scope of the given theme instead. Chi Fu sniggered. Wife missing husband? Machi said, yes. Chi Fu smiled and said, if I were to tell you that it exists in this poem. Everyone was stunned. Huh? There's what? Wife missing husband? Where is it? Yeah, there's nothing that mentions that. Damn, what is Chi Fu talking about? Isn't this just husband missing wife? It's depicting the husband's feelings of missing his wife from beginning till end. Where's the depiction of the wife's part? Everyone was feeling confused, not understanding what Chi Fu was talking about. In the end, Chi Fu did not keep everyone in suspense and looked up at the poem once again, some shock still in his eyes. He pointed at it and said, this poem is not as simple as what you see on the surface, nor was it written casually by little Zhang. There's something hidden in it, so why don't you read it backwards to find out what it is? Suna was stunned. What? Liao Qi said, read it backwards? Li Rue said appalled, what do you mean by reading it backwards? How can we read it backwards? Chi Fu smiled and said, don't believe it? Then why don't you all try reading it once that way? Everyone looked at the last two lines of the poem with the intention to just give it a try as Chi Fu suggested. The lamp serves as my companion on lonely nights, I am thinking of you, my wife and son. Read it backwards? Someone who was not convinced by anything that was said so far, recited it out aloud, your wife and son are thinking of you. However, just listening to this first line was enough to stun a few people. This. Oh my god. Wife missing husband. There's really a goddamn wife missing husband. What the heck? What was this? Just what the heck was this? Suna was very shocked, but hurriedly continued reciting it, each word louder and louder, keeping a lonesome watch like a solitary lamp. Hesitating to send letters with no response. Long departed, we're separated like life and death. Why do you find it difficult to pen a reply? Pouring a bowl of wine yet afraid the pot will empty. Even as bosom friends, we have barely met. Gazing with dry eyes over the span of mountains and rivers. When the entire poem was read out aloud backwards, all of the teachers present there, including the Tsinghua and Peking University teachers, were all stunned. An antithesis? It was done to extreme neatness. 1. Does it rhyme? It rhymed perfectly. Moreover, there was a difference in the poem when read backwards or forward. It was like another poem with a change in perspective. Reading it normally, it was about a man missing his wife. Reading it backwards, it was about a woman missing her husband. This was simply unbelievable. Suna exclaimed, holy shit. A female teacher from Peking University also said, holy shit. A female teacher from an institute of technology echoed them, holy shit. Liao Qi. Li Rui was desperately gasping for air. Machi was dumbfounded. Dean Pan was dumbfounded. The other teachers were all dumbfounded. Suddenly, a younger female teacher shouted from the crowd, palindrome poem. It's a palindrome poem. 2. At this moment, No one knew what words could express their feelings anymore. Perhaps, the most suitable phrase that could depict their moods right now was "what the fuck." Could it get any more awesome than this? Could it be any more unbelievable than this? To think that just a moment ago, Suna and the other female teachers from Peking University were still grumbling about how Zhang Yi did not seem to be putting in any effort and just casually composing a poem without serious thought. Who knew that it turned out to be the complete opposite of that? Zhang Yi did not just casually compose it. If he did that, would the poem be able to be read from both directions? Why don't you be casual and show us that instead? This was clearly a poem that Zhang Yi had put a lot of thought into to create. And he even did it spontaneously on the spot. There wasn't even a draft. A draw? A tie? Thinking about how everyone had earlier come to such a conclusion, it would surely make anyone laugh their heads off. How could it be a tie? Chief Yu was right, these two poems were never in the same world to begin with. Even if Liao Qi's poem was pushed up a further 4 to 5 grades, it would still fall far behind Zhang Yi's poem. The chasm was too wide. This was a difference in the standards and level of the poet, a difference that couldn't be bridged even with a different usage of words and composition techniques. Liao Qi remained silent. A few of the teachers from Tsinghua University who had been stirring the pot earlier to get Zhang Yi to step up to take the challenge also stayed quiet. The difference in standards were too great that they didn't even know what they could say anymore. To compete with Zhang Yi in composing poetry? Perhaps from the beginning, this whole incident was already the greatest joke in the world. At this time, the way that many of those present were all looking at Zhang Yi was like they had seen a god. There were even some people who were still staring so hard at Zhang Yi's poem that they couldn't snap out of it. They read it over and over again, forwards and backwards. Every time they completed reading it once, they felt an urge to curse at someone's second grandma to appease their shock. This poem was really too goddamn awesome. Suna suddenly walked up quickly to get Zhang Yi's poem and rolled it up carefully. She held the rolled A1 paper in her hands and said, "I didn't get your ode to Milan previously, so don't even try to reject me. Please gift this poem to me, Teacher Zhang." Zhang Yi smiled and threw up his hands. Whatever. But no one else was having any of it. They all rushed up and tried to claim it for themselves. "What's this? What's this? Little Na, don't even try to jump the gun on us." "Teacher Su, what do you mean by it's yours? I was still thinking of taking it for myself." "Little Su, please let me have the poem. I will treat you to 1 month's worth of lunch." "Teacher Zhang Yi, gift it to me instead, please." Chapter 708, The date of the college entrance examination has come. Zhang Yi's poem was being fought for over by everyone. Other than the value of Zhang Yi's calligraphy, the other main reason was because this poem was such a classic that each person wanted it to adorn the walls of their home. However, it still ended up being given to Suna as she was the first one lay her hands on the scroll of Zhuan paper the poem was written on and had already gotten the best chance of keeping it. On top of that, everyone also knew that Suna and Zhang Yi were colleagues at the Chinese department in Peking University who enjoyed a good relationship together. As a result, no one really made any further attempts to get it from her after that. "Hi. I was a step too late. I really like this poem a lot. Who doesn't like it? That's obvious. Let me suggest this, why don't we have another contest and let Zhang Yi compose a few more poems so that we can share them equally? Do you all agree?" As it turned out, no one bothered with such a suggestion. Another round? Who can compete with Zhang Yi? You? Having seen this palindrome poem, no one here today dared challenge Zhang Yi anymore. If anyone still dared to boast and go up against him, then surely that person would only be brought down in shame. By contrast, Liao Qi was looking clearly depressed away from the others. Chief Yu saw this and went over to offer some comforting words. "Old Liao, don't take it to heart. Everyone has something that they are good at. When it comes to poetry, it's what Zhang Yi excels at. Almost no one in the entire country can stand on equal footing with him, so your loss is not something to be ashamed of." Liao Qi did not say anything. The other Tsinghua University teachers who were provoking Zhang Yi earlier now felt hot with embarrassment. Half of their group had left the place earlier. An old professor from Renmin University beside them said, "The younger generation will surpass the older." Today's celebratory feast has given many of these teachers the chance to widen their horizons. Having been able to witness such awesome poetry made it worth their time in attending. Not long after, the celebratory feast ended. Everyone was still talking about the poem excitedly as they proceeded back to their own dorms. This poem was actually by Li Yu from the Song dynasty in Zhang Yi's previous world. The poem was titled A Husband's and Wife's Mutual Saudade. This palindromic poem was very famous among all the ancient palindromic poems. Zhang Yi had come across it once in a book and remembered it. Since he brought it over to this world on this occasion, it was naturally able to shock everyone. Later that afternoon, in the dorms on the hillside, After Zhang Yi came back, he immediately took a shower and did not place much importance of today's incident. After his shower, he went to the library and borrowed another dozen or so books and brought them back to his dorm room. He restarted his work from this morning and started flipping through the pages of content. Then he used a memory search capsule to take in all the details of the information he had flipped through in the books earlier and memorized all of it. Now he could simply just retrieve any information he wanted from his mind. One book. Another book. Zhang Yi did not mind the boredom or loneliness and just repeated the same thing over and over again, working hard to absorb the vast knowledge of this world to use them as a basis and prepare himself for the future. He was already planning to use the remaining days approaching the date of the college entrance examination in this way. The next day. Daytime. No one knew who did it, but Zhang Yi's husband's and wife's mutual saudade was suddenly posted online to Weibo along with a message. This was composed by Zhang Yi at the private location where the college entrance examination question setting teams are held. Come and enjoy this piece of poetry, everyone. Let me give you all a hint, there's a mystery to it, Judging from the tone, it seemed like it was a woman who posted it. Some netizens started paying attention to this post. Composed at the college entrance examination question setting team location? Then how did you get your hands on it? Yeah, isn't that a private place that's closed off to the public? There shouldn't even be any form of communication allowed there. This must be fake then? Clickbait. The overpowered might be a staff member of the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board? That's possible. Let me take a look at this poem. It's quite well written. Yes, it's written well with a suitable mood to it. Was this really written by Zhang Yi? It doesn't feel like it. I thought that Zhang Yi's poems were always earth-shaking. This piece is good, but it doesn't carry any impact to it. It's definitely clickbait, it's confirmed. A mystery? What mystery? Many of the netizens did not believe this was real as there were too many liars and rumors going around. When the woman who posted on Weibo saw that everyone was doubting the veracity of her post, she replied with an update. Whether you believe this was written by Zhang Yi or not, just try reading the poem backwards and you'll know. Other than him, no one else could compose a poem like it. Read it backwards? Herter. This is the first time I've heard of a poem that can be read backwards. Let me give it a try. In the next moment, countless people were totally amazed. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. Your sister. This can really be read backwards. This was really composed by Zhang Yi? I know this. It's a palindrome poem. It was very rare even in the ancient times. Even among the palindrome poems that were passed down from antiquity, there aren't many that can be considered poetic and can rhyme as well as this one. Why did Zhang Yi write this poem? A husband's and wife's mutual saudade? What does this mean? The woman who posted the Weibo post explained, I heard that the teachers were having a celebratory feast and there was a contest. Someone had challenged Zhang Yi to use the theme of husband and wife to compose a poem. Then, without even thinking, Zhang Yi composed this piece straight away with a brush and won. Heavens! How informative! This is too godly. The deep, ancient knowledge of literature of China is really broad and profound. If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't even have known that there was such a thing as palindrome poems. Too awesome. Hearing this explanation from the overpowered, I would definitely believe that this was a work by Zhang Yi. Someone issued a challenge and Zhang Yi took it on with a palindrome poem. That's totally that guy's style. Face-smacking Zhang has gone on to smack faces again. Your sister, Teacher Zhang has been held in the mountains yet he can't stay idle for a moment and has gone on a face-smacking spree again. PFFT, that's right. The name of face-smacking Zhang is not for nothing. Even if Teacher Zhang were to be launched to the moon, I reckon he would still find the means to smack some faces. No one can stop the march of face-smacking Zhang. Ha ha ha, why is it that a poem that is so sorrowful can be twisted into something by you all that I'm crying from laughter? Teacher Zhang is impressive. Zhang Yi is indeed Zhang Yi. Fully deserving of his reputation. Zhang Yi's poem is not only good in that setting, even the technique he used is a very high-level one. It can be seen that this is just child's play to Zhang Yi. Composing a poem is mere child's play to him since he can do it so easily and elegantly. When this Weibo post was forwarded and viewed multiple times, more and more people started paying attention to it and the number of comments also increasingly soared. Very soon, a husband's and wife's mutual saudade palindrome poem was broken down and analyzed. Word by word, the details were put under the microscope and picked apart. The more they researched, the deeper they got, and the more people saw its ingenuity. They were increasingly feeling more and more amazed at how incredulous it was. However, there was a big group of people who did not care about this at all. It was the Beijing college entrance examinees. What palindrome poem, so what? All I care about right now is how difficult this year's Beijing college entrance exam will be. Seeing this a husbands and wives mutual saudade palindrome poem by Zhang Yi, I suddenly get a feeling of being screwed. If he can even compose such a difficult poem, then how can the questions he set be simple? I'm giving up all hope. It might not turn out to be that way. Everyone, let's not be so pessimistic. Right, Zhang Yi's not the only question setter anyway, even if does set some questions, how many questions can he write? As long as we can get the other questions correct, then the score wouldn't differ by much. That sounds logical. Hopefully. But I have an ominous feeling about this. Fuck, me too, I better go and revise my algebraic geometry again. I'm going offline, bye. I'm going offline too. 1 day. 3 days. 5 days. In the blink of an eye, the annual college entrance examination was here again. Chapter 709, the first day of the exam is over. At the end of June. It was the first day of the college entrance exam. The sun was already blazing early in the morning, making the Beijing weather extremely hot and sunny. Under the soaring temperatures, the examinees and their parents were all densely packed at the entrance of every examination venue in the province. There were traffic cops stationed at each of the nearby junctions of the examination venues to maintain order and regulate the traffic flow, keeping traffic smooth to the fullest extent. Some of the exam venues even had an ambulance on standby to handle any emergencies. Everything was given careful consideration to the examinees. Today was not only a big day for the examinees but also an important one the whole society was very concerned with. News related to the college entrance examination had been published all over the place by the media and newspapers since a few days ago. Drivers are advised to keep clear of the schools that are designated as examination venues. Cheering for the examinees to do well. Reforming the Beijing college entrance exam, difficulty likely to be greatly increased. At a certain examination venue. Please produce your exam admission pass. Here. Alright, you may proceed inside. Mom, I'm going in. Little Ying, do your best, don't be nervous. Okay Mom, you should go home first. Mom's not leaving. I'll be waiting for you outside. Similar scenes were happening at the entrance of every exam venue. The parents of the examinees all appeared to feel nervous and uneasy. Meanwhile, the students all had different expressions, some looked like they were not affected, some looked extremely worried, some were smiling brightly, and some were expressionless, as each person carried their books and did some last-minute revision. Of course, there were also no lack of discussion by the examinees on the difficulty on the exam. I heard that the questions for this year's exam are extremely difficult. I'm also quite worried. I really hope it isn't going to be difficult. It would be nice if they followed the previous standard of difficulty. Why must they reform it no matter what? Let's see how it turns out with the English language test first. Hocus pocus, can it be simpler for us? The first subject to be taken was the English language test. The college entrance examination subject sequence and timing of the sections of this world were somewhat different from Zhang Yi's previous world. Not only was the exam held at the end of June, the sequence for the first day's morning was the English language test, followed by the arts and the science tests in the afternoon. The second day's schedule would be for the Chinese literature and mathematics tests. Moreover, like the mathematics test of this world, be it the standardized national test or those independent, provincial-level tests, the mathematics test was not separated into the arts or science subjects, but as a standalone subject. 8:40 a.m., the examinees take their seats. 9 a.m., the English language exam officially commences. The first section is a listening test. With the broadcast of the listening test, it raised the curtains for yet another year of the National College Entrance Examination. 1 question. 5 questions. 10 questions. The examinees began their battle with their heads lowered, wearing serious expressions on their faces. Time passed bit by bit. When the bell signaling the end of the examination rang, countless examinees heaved sighs of relief. After submitting their papers, they began discussing the questions as they walked out of the exam venue. Immediately, their parents surrounded them. How was it? Did you do well, little Chi? Is the English language test difficult? It's more difficult than last year's, but only slightly. The difficulty was more or less the same compared to our second mock exam. It's still fine and not as difficult as I had imagined. Right, I also feel that it's alright. They just increased the difficulty on the listening test. Mom, I did quite well. I can definitely get a high score this time. That's great, Mom will take you to a nice restaurant. I want to eat grilled fish. The majority of the Beijing examinees felt that the difficulty of the examination questions were still quite acceptable and many of them seemed like they had fared quite well. Everyone left with their parents with smiles on their faces. Later that afternoon, the second half of examination commenced. The arts students were taking the arts test while the science students took the science test. Because the papers for the arts and science subjects made up most of the points allocation and covered a greater scope, the examination questions were also more complicated. That was why the examinees did not dare take it too lightly and went into the examination venue with caution. But when the examinees completed the tests, it turned out that many of them had smiles on their faces instead. At some of the examination venues, quite a number of candidates even handed in their papers early. It seemed like they had completed the exam quite smoothly. When they left the examination venue, those who bumped into their classmates immediately started discussing. What was your answer to the fifth question? I chose A. Haha, looks like I got the question correct by chance. The science test was quite acceptable this time. That's right, I thought it would be very difficult. But the difficulty was still increased by a little, like the physics section. Yes, the difficulty of the physics section was increased. I didn't even understand the last major question on the test, but it's alright, I wasn't even planning to answer that question anyway. I had given up on it right from the beginning. I guess not too many people will be able to answer that. Wang Zhu, you're also at this examination venue? I just saw you. How was your arts test? It was alright. It wasn't that difficult, right? The political science test was quite difficult as the questions were worded quite trickily. The others were alright and many of the questions were modified to a different style of questioning. Actually, they were similar to those that we did in the mock exam previously and a majority of them were gimme questions. As long as we used a more flexible train of thought to analyze and answer the questions, there wasn't much of a difference from the past Beijing exams. That's right, this difficulty level is just right. Aren't the newspapers constantly reporting that the Beijing college entrance exam is undergoing a reform? Haha, I don't see much of a reform at all. To think that I was so worried about it previously. That's right, they totally exaggerated it. I also got a fright at that time, but it turned out to not be a big deal. Bye, I'll go home now to prepare for tomorrow's tests. The first day of the exam was over. Many of the Beijing examinees went home joyfully with their parents and their faces beaming. On the same night, the answers to the English language, science and arts tests appeared on the internet. These answers were not released by the official authorities but were compiled by the teachers from the high schools who answered the questions one by one themselves and posted them online for the examinees to compare with their own answers. An English teacher from the Beijing Normal University affiliated high school posted on Weibo, the difficulty of the listening test has clearly become more difficult, but the rest of the test was still within our expectations. A teacher of number 15 high school, there were not too many difficult questions in the science test. A teacher of number 14 high school, the difficulty for the tests this time was average as there were some changes from past questions that were set, but were not obvious. A teacher of number 8 high school, the exam reform is going slowly with a trial and error approach, so we cannot expect overnight results. Some of the questions for the Beijing exam this time were very eye-catching and original, but whether the questions were difficult or not was secondary. There were many different opinions and views, as everyone discussed fervently about this topic. In the end, even the Beijing media came forward to post, reforming the Beijing college entrance exams. The thunder was loud, but the rain was light. In contrast, the examinees from the other provinces did not have it as easy as the Beijing examinees. Hi, it isn't easy this year either. That's right, it's about the same compared with last year's exams. The English language test was too difficult as there was too much new vocabulary I had never even heard of before. Everyone, quickly take a look at the Beijing tests. It seems like it's still as easy as before. Weren't they intending to reform it? I don't know. Anyway, I know how to do all those questions. Fuck, it's true. If I were given the Beijing exam, I would be able to get more than 500 points on my college entrance exam. Your sister. Looks like the examinees living in the imperial city are having a more blissful life. I envy them so much. In my next life, I also want to be born in Beijing. 710 The most difficult exam in history. Chapter 710, the most difficult exam in history. The next day. The college entrance exam ushered in the second, and last, day of the examination. The subject for the day's morning's examination was the Chinese literature test followed by the mathematics test in the afternoon. It was not even 8 a.m. yet, but many of the examinees were already outside the exam venues accompanied by their parents. Have you brought along all your exam items? Yes, I've brought them all. Exam admission pass, ID card, pens and pencils. They're all inside my bag. Do your best today and just keep up your good work. Of course, Dad. I feel like I could get at least 550 points in this exam. Are you serious? That high? It's because the questions were not too difficult. If you think it's easy, then others will also find it easy too. Everyone might end up with very high scores in the end. When that happens, the cutoff points for admissions in Beijing will also increase accordingly. The result will be the same. That's why today is the crucial moment. Don't let your guard down, make the best of the easy questions to get more marks, and don't make any careless mistakes. Understood? Elsewhere. How did you fare yesterday? It was very good. I also did quite well. This year's college entrance exam didn't seem like the big deal they made it to be. Hee, I'm going to the internet cafe tonight. You wanna come? Let's go. Of course I want to. After working so hard for the past year, I can finally enjoy playing games again. Man, there are still 2 subjects left, let's focus on the exam first. It's nothing. With that standard of difficulty in the English language and science tests yesterday? I'm feeling very confident about it. Hey, that's very true. From the conversations, the mood and mentality of the Beijing examinees were very telling. More than half of them came to the examination venues today with confidence and were calmer after having experienced their first tests of the college entrance exam yesterday. Many of them who originally were scared of the college entrance examination had become indifferent as the difficulty of the English language test had given them confidence for today. The remaining half of the examinees still maintained their alertness and nervousness as they felt that yesterday's tests were too simple and probably the 2 tests today would be slightly more difficult. On top of that, these 2 tests were set by the famous Zhang Yi. That was why some of the examinees definitely did not dare underestimate the questions. Very soon, it was time for the examination to begin. At the examination venue at number 4 high school, in an examination hall on the 2nd floor. A plump and a thin examinee were whispering to each other. They were not from the same school and probably only got to know each other yesterday. Fatty, how was your English language test? I won't get fewer than 100 points. Whoa, you're that awesome. What about you, Skinny? I won't get fewer than 110 points. Can you stop bragging? I'm not bragging. If you don't believe me, let's compare whose Chinese literature test will score higher. This subject is my forte. Moreover, the Beijing Chinese literature test has always been very easy every year. It will be different this year since they're pushing reforms on the college entrance exam. Reform, my ass. You should have already gotten an idea when you saw yesterday's exams. How difficult can the tests get? Sure, then let's compare whose score is higher. If I can demonstrate my fullest potential, I can probably score 115 points and above. Then I will score 120 points. Fuck, I will score 125 points. Then I will score 130 points. At this moment, a female proctor stared at the 2 of them and said, "Stop whispering to each other. The exams will be distributed soon." The 2 of them immediately shut their mouths. In the next second, the examinees were passing the exams backward. Once the tests were in their hands, everyone immediately picked up their pens and started answering the questions. The plump examinee rubbed his hands together and had a look of concentration on his face. The thin examinee was also smiling as he prepared to attempt the questions. However, after just a moment, the entire batch of examinees in the exam hall suddenly fell silent. It seemed that even the sound of scribbling had disappeared and the atmosphere abruptly became strange. A proctor glanced at them curiously. "Quickly answer your questions." "Answer our questions?" "Answer your sister." The plump examinee was stunned. The thin examinee was also stunned. The entire hall of examinees were all stunned. They had just began attempting 5 questions before they got stuck. They felt that they could not continue anymore. Some people felt like they were about to vomit blood as they stared with their eyes wide, looking down at the next few questions. As a result, they found out that after every few questions, there would be a question that was so difficult that it would make people feel like they wanted to die. For example, this question: Confucius and Lazy are fighting, who will you help? Help your second granny. How could these 2 old men get into a fight? Besides, even if the 2 of them really got into a fight, how could I help? No matter who I helped, I will get fucking beaten up. Come on, they were both sages. At this moment, all the examinees' hearts froze. Score 120 points? Score 130 points? Both the plump and thin examinees could no longer boast anymore at this moment. Their faces turned green. Many of them couldn't help but swear, "Fuck, what the fuck are these questions? Fuck, which fucking bastard's grandson wrote these questions?" The proctor felt strange about everyone's reaction and was wondering why everyone was looking so baffled. Then she also looked down and flipped through the spare exams. After she saw the questions, the female proctor also became confused and was totally stunned at that moment. She was also a Chinese literature teacher, but in all her life of teaching Chinese literature lessons, she had never come across such questions before or even heard of similar ones. Even if she tried to attempt some of the questions herself now, she did not know how she would begin to answer the questions. The same scenes were happening at every examination venue. Some of the examinees even double face-palmed, while some of them stared unblinkingly with stunned faces. Without the needing to think much, many of them had already come to a conclusion. Zhang Yi. This question was definitely fucking written by Zhang Yi. Besides this bastard, no one else could possibly come up with such a wicked question. It was definitely that person trying to lead them into a trap. They seemed to know Zhang Yi's style quite well. These extremely difficult questions in the Beijing Chinese literature test were in fact all set by Zhang Yi. For example, the question of Confucius and lazy are fighting was actually sourced from Zhang Yi's previous world, when Tsinghua University held its own admissions test, which could also be considered as a sort of college entrance exam question. The question itself was considered to be open-ended and could be freely answered as there wasn't a perfect answer. Confucius and lazy were both people of a certain status, so it wasn't likely for them to get into a fight. Lazy spoke of the way, Tao, while Confucius pushed through Aizen. When Confucius was born, lazy had left society. From the perception of ideology or conduct, there were too many ways to approach and analyze this question. One, however, it was easy to say but hard to do. This question had truly stumped all of the Beijing examinees. On top of that, this was still only the beginning as there were more of these similarly wicked questions waiting for them in the later parts of the test, each one of them trickier and more difficult than the other. Time passed by quickly. Put down your pens. It's time to hand in your papers. Teacher, I haven't finished answering yet. You can't continue to write anymore. Come on, please let me write a little more. Every examination venue was defeated on all fronts, with many of the examinees wailing. When they came out from the examination halls, the examinees did not even know how they could describe their current feelings. Son, what happened? Dad, I blew it. Ah. How can that be? It was too difficult. The Chinese literature test was too difficult. Close by were some examinees who were already cursing and swearing. Zhang Yi. It must be him. That guy is wicked all the way to his grandma's house. What an inhumane person. I don't care whether Confucius and lazy are fighting or not. I only know that if Zhang Yi were standing in front of me right now, he would definitely get beaten up by a bunch of people. I've never come across such difficult Chinese literature questions before. Is this even the college entrance exam? Why do I feel like it's an exam for postgrad students instead? I'm done for. It would already be very good if I can manage to pass this time. Me too, I've totally screwed it up. I didn't give an answer for quite a number of the questions. I totally had no idea how to even start answering them. It's really a reform of the exam. This reform is too harsh. All of a sudden, the difficulty has been increased several-fold. In the afternoon, many of the Beijing Chinese literature exam questions had already been leaked and were quickly spreading on the internet. The questions became famous almost immediately as they were widely spread by everyone. When the netizens saw this, they expressed their shock. Holy shit. These questions. Luckily I'm not involved in this year's college entrance exam. Thankfully, I didn't repeat my studies last year. Otherwise, if I encountered these questions, I wouldn't even know how I died. Why are they so difficult? Did all of the Beijing examinees get wiped out? Who could even answer them? Who was the person who wrote these questions? That was too damaging. After looking through the questions, many netizens and examinees from the other provinces very nearly fainted as well. With this, the examinees from the other provinces were no longer envious of the Beijing examinees or wishing they were born in the imperial city in their next lives anymore. These questions were so fucking difficult that it was clearly not meant for anyone to attempt. Some teachers also posted online. A Chinese literature teacher of Hueco High School, I'm also stunned with some of the questions. I don't see how I can get full marks for them. Today's Chinese literature test was totally beyond our imagination. A head of department at the Chinese Literature Department of Beijing Normal University Affiliated High School, this Chinese literature test is probably the most difficult test in the history of the Beijing college entrance exam. But if you were to say that the difficulty of the test has gone overboard? That is also not the case. All the questions were set within the scope of the topic, just that the approach of the questions were quite different from usual. They needed the examinees to have a very strong sense of logic and good at expressing the language to be able to answer them well. The exam questions were actually set in a very interesting manner, and could be approached from several directions, thus testing the examinees' overall ability. News was flying all around in the mainstream media publications of Beijing. The Beijing Chinese Literature Test, the reform that drew first blood. The Beijing Chinese Literature Test, rated the most difficult exam in history by the experts. The examinees believe about more than 10 of the difficult questions were set by Zhang Yi. Reporters have inquired with the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board but received no comment and need further verification. The Beijing Chinese Literature Test creates a shock with its godly question. The Beijing examinees have fared badly at most parts of the Chinese literature test. Examinees' parents curse at the question setter. Then, very quickly, in just the short duration of the afternoon break between the exams, the godly question and some godly answers in reply to it were published one by one. For example, the question about Confucius and lazy. Many of the examinees had posted their answers online. It was not known whether they were answering seriously or was just ridiculing the question. Chen Feng 2001, I will help Confucius because lazy knows Haikai. Dushj, I will help whomever the question setter helps. Little Butterflake, I will not help anyone but call 110 to inform the police immediately. Obese 317, I will not help either of them. First, I will go and mediate for them. After I manage to calm Confucius and lazy down, the three of us will proceed to beat Zhang Yi up together. The last answer resonated with many of the examinees. Many of the examination candidates were shouting on Weibo Zhang Yi, Teacher Zhang Yi, show yourself. We promise that we will not beat you to death. 1. Ruism, also known as Confucianism, 711 a difficulty that brings the examinees to tears. Chapter 711, a difficulty that brings the examinees to tears. On Weibo. A lot of celebrities also joined in the fun. A C-list female singer commented, "Hi, why are the college entrance exams Chinese literature questions so difficult these days? If my college entrance exam was like the one they have now, I probably wouldn't have qualified for university at all." Chen Guang, Director Zhang has once again angered the masses. Yao Jianke, little Zhang is totally out for the kill. Let's see what will happen to him after he gets down from the hills. The Beijing examinees will probably come out in force to get him. Fan Wenli, PFFT, these questions amuse me. Dong Shanshan, Zhang Yi's thinking is forever different from others. Chen Guang, actually, it is not Zhang Yi's fault at all. It was the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board who wanted to reform the exam, so they got him precisely because they wanted him to set the most difficult questions amid all the pressure. Otherwise, what was the point in getting him? Fortunately, the exams are all the same, so the difficulty applies to everyone. If you can't do it, then it's likely other people won't be able to do it either. That will average out the curve and it will be down to a fight over every examinee's standard themselves, so there isn't any unfairness since it's the same for everyone. Though it was put in this way. And it sounded very logical as well. But the examinees did not think in such a way. Many of them already hated Zhang Yi to the core, kicking up a fuss on the internet. Someone even called for a crusade against Zhang Yi team to be started. Good idea. Count me in. This is numbing, I'm going to join the crusade as well. I swear to take it all the way to the end with face-smacking Zhang. Face-smacking Zhang is totally screwing with us all. Wait till we finish our math exam. When we finish our exam, our knives must surely be stained with Zhang Yi's blood. I won't be playing games or relaxing anymore tonight, I will constantly be criticizing him online. Warriors, count me in. Many of these people's fighting spirits were soaring high. However, an even greater number of people did not have the mind to think about such things. They were more concerned with the afternoon's mathematics test. The Chinese literature test was already incredibly bad. What will the math test be like? I can't even imagine. Zhang Yi's the lead question setter for the math test. God, just let me die. The college entrance exam is too horrible. At this moment, an online media outlet published an analysis report. With the Chinese literature test over, the Beijing examinees are left wailing. The Chinese literature test's questions were too difficult and had far exceeded the difficulty in known history. However, if we see this from a different perspective, there might be a possibility that the math test will be easier. Could there be such a possibility of this happening? It can't be that both the Chinese literature and mathematics test are the most difficult in the history of the National College Entrance Exam, right? Then what kind of scores are the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board even intending to let our Beijing examinees get? Would 400 points be counted as high? If everyone's score is low, then the admissions cutoff score would slide down greatly. Is it likely that one doesn't even need 400 points to get admitted into Tsinghua University? That's impossible. Following that, many teachers and education industry insiders also commented with their own analysis and judgments. Many of them were also authoritative figures. An industry insider posted, the current estimate for the Beijing examinees' average score for the Chinese literature test is not likely to exceed 75 points and could be lower. It has to be mentioned that last year's average score for the same paper was 103 points, so if the mathematics test's difficulty is increased, then the Tier 1 scores might really end up shrinking down to just around 400 points. That is not a very realistic outcome. A national exam question setter posted, the difficulty level of this year's Beijing mathematics test is likely to be moderate or just slightly above average. The experts gave their analysis from all kinds of perspectives and made good arguments to support their views. The examinees were all excited by these comments that were posted. That's right. The analysis seems very logical. The math test shouldn't be more difficult than the Chinese literature test. Well said. That's great, I'm feeling relieved now. Charge. There's only the last subject left now. Later that afternoon, as the timing approached, it was also time for the last subject to be examined for this year's college entrance examination, mathematics. Having experienced the wake-up call from this morning's Chinese literature test, many of the examinees were dealt a severe blow, especially having gone through yesterday's level of the English, arts, and science tests. The level of difficulty for today's paper was made even more obvious. It was like the difference between the sky and earth. Some of the examinees had not even came back to their senses from the disaster of the morning's test and were already arriving back to the examination venue in the accompaniment of their parents. They were still unsettled. There was still anger over the level of difficulty. It was like this for the examinees and their parents alike. Son, it's the last subject. I know, Mom. The Chinese literature test is already over. It doesn't matter what we say about it anymore, so just focus and score well on your math test to make up for your Chinese literature test score. I will. Are you confident? Yes. That's my son, go get him. Beside them, another parent was also advising their child. Daughter, I just read on the internet that many of the experts have already analyzed and concurred that the math test is not going to be too difficult, so don't worry about it. Ah. Really? It's true. It's what the experts have claimed, how can it be wrong? They said that the difficulty level for the math test is likely to be moderate or just slightly above average. That's great to hear. Around them, quite a few parents and examinees who heard this came over to ask. Will it really not be difficult? Yes, the media reports also analyzed it as such. You all can check the internet if you don't believe. Ooh, it nearly scared me to death. It's good as long as it's not difficult. I was so scared that my legs were trembling. Then I had better score higher on the math test. I need to claw back the points I lost in the Chinese literature exam. Right. Wow, the reports online really analyzed it that way. It's supported by so many experts too. Let me see. Haha, I'm not worried anymore now. That's exactly what I was thinking. The Chinese literature test was already super difficult, so the math test can't possibly be as difficult too. It was almost time to start the last test. The examinees had all gone into the examination venues. Those who had seen the analysis presented by the media and experts had all regained quite a bit of their confidence. They held their pens firmly, in preparation to do well on all the questions. However, as it turned out, after the mathematics test was handed out, when the examinees saw the multi-line questions on it, they were all left looking flabbergasted. Some people gasped. Some people covered their faces and let out a silent scream. Some people turned pale. There were even some who held the exam in their trembling hands. Question 3. If the complex number z satisfies the equation z2 to 3i equals 6 plus 4i, where I is the imaginary unit, then the modulus of z is. Question 9. There are 3 small balls of similar size in a box. One of them is a black ball. If 2 balls are randomly picked from the box, what is the probability of the 2 balls being different in color? Question 13. To better understand the quality of a batch of cotton, a cotton mill randomly extracted 100 lengths of cotton fiber. The length of a cotton fiber is an important indicator of the quality of cotton. The resulting data falls between 5-40. Its appearance frequency is indicated in the distribution histogram below. Image. In the sampling of 100 lengths of fiber, there are lengths that are shorter than 20 millimeters. Question 15. In the Chinese literature and mathematics subjects, the results are graded into 3 tiers of either excellent, pass, or fail. Assuming student A's results are all not lower than student B's, with at least one subject scoring better than student B's, then the statement student A's results are better than student B's is valid. If among some students no one scored better than each other, and neither did any 2 students score the same points as another, with their mathematics results also not the same, then, what is the maximum number of students that fulfill the conditions? What kind of questions were these? Just what kind of damned questions were these? Don't even mention solving these questions. Just looking at them alone was enough to make half of the examinees vomit blood. Some of the more outstanding mathematics students were already covered with sweat, trying their hardest to understand the questions. There were also some who were weaker in the subject who had already laid down their weapon and given up on answering. Fuck your grandpa. Who the hell said that the mathematics exam questions would not be too difficult? Who the heck said that the mathematics exam questions were going to be moderate to slightly above average in difficulty? Those who said so should come look at this for themselves. Is this fucking moderate to slightly above average in difficulty? Is this not too difficult? Only at this moment did the examinees realize that they had been scammed by those media reports and experts who had sounded so confident with their arguments. The mathematics test was totally not like how they had predicted it to be. In fact, this was even more difficult than the Chinese literature test by at least 2 times. At least they could still read and understand the questions in the Chinese literature test. But for some of the questions in the mathematics test, even after staring at it for forever, they could not begin to understand the question whatsoever. The people of this world definitely did not know where these questions originated from. Only Zhang Yi knew that these multifaceted questions had all come from the past years of college entrance exams of every province in his previous world. There were questions from the 2014 Beijing College Entrance Exam, the 2009 National College Entrance Exam and also the 2010 Jiangsu College Entrance Exam, whose claim to fame was being the most difficult examination in the college entrance examination history. All of these questions were gathered and chosen by Zhang Yi to be used for this world's Beijing College Entrance Examination's mathematics test this year. The difficulty of it was something that one could not even begin to imagine. However, this was not Zhang Yi intentionally trying to find issue with the examinees. He was just doing as instructed by the Higher Education Entrance Examination Board, who had requested for the most difficult questions he could come up with. They fully had the intention to reform the exam and Zhang Yi had no objections to this. Whatever the Higher Education Entrance Examination Board wanted, he would just give to them. His job was only to write the questions. Nothing else mattered to him. The bell sounded to signal the end of the exam. The mathematics test had ended. At that moment, the curtain was drawn on the annual National College Entrance Examination. Jinshai? At an examination venue. Granddaughter. Granny, I've finished my exam. Did you do well? I did okay. I just didn't manage to finish the last major question. Alright then, let's go home. Granny will cook a sumptuous meal for you. Beihai Province. We're finally free. Ha ha ha. When I get home, I want to sleep soundly for 3 days and 3 nights. I want to play video games. Play them for 3 days straight. It will definitely be very enjoyable. Oh. We're free. Jiangnan Province. Today's examination wasn't too difficult. Yeah, it was easier than last year's. I counted. My points will definitely qualify me for Tier 1. University, here I come. Me too, the math test was so easy. The entire country's examinees were finally set free at this moment. Many of them had left their examination venues laughing, even those who did not do well or performed as ideally as they wanted. Since the dust had settled, they were now totally relaxed and could finally make their way home to their families. However, there was a place where it was different. The reactions of the examinees in this municipality was different from all the other places. Beijing. After the college entrance examination was over, at the end of the last exam subject. Outside many of the examination venues, other than the sight of many anxiously waiting parents, there were also many media reporters who had arrived. Some of the reporters even arrived in their press vehicles, probably preparing to do an episode covering the topic or getting the footage ready for tonight's news report. Ah, they're coming out. Quickly, the cameras. They're coming out. The exam is over. The parents and reporters were all crowded outside the entrance. However, their expected reactions of the examinees exiting the venues with excitement did not happen. Yes, not a single one of them did that. Everyone just walked out slowly and silently with a sense of heaviness. They all looked like they had been through a tough battle or seemed like they had just been beaten up. The parents were getting anxious. What's wrong? Little Yi, what's going on? What happened? Zhaozu, why aren't you talking? How was the exam, baby? Say something at least. Suddenly, a thin and weak-looking boy walking right in the front started crying loudly after hearing his parents asking him about the exam. It was too damn difficult. With this cry, a few female examinees behind him also started shedding tears. A girl was crying while yelling out, Zhang Yi. I can't live while you do. You're my sworn enemy. Sob sob sob. The parents were stunned. The reporters were also shocked. Fuck. Just what kind of a mathematics test was it for this year's Beijing College Entrance Examination? Why did some of the examinees even breaking down in tears over it? Just how difficult was it? Meanwhile, at the other examination venues in Beijing, similar scenes were playing out as well. Many of the examinees had exited from their examination venues in tears, crying while cursing all 18 generations of ancestors of this year's college entrance examinations question-setting team. If the Chinese literature test had caused them to cry out loudly before, then this mathematics test was the one that had extinguished all their remaining hope. Even a few examinees who usually did very well at mathematics and scored highly in their classes came out of the venue in tears. They had never used swear words despite the many years at school, but when they walked out of the examination venue this time, They could be heard loudly swearing, "They better not let us find out which bastard wrote those questions." 712 Down with Zhang Yi. Chapter 712, Down with Zhang Yi. Each time the college entrance examination was held, there would always be examinees who passed and failed. Some of them would do poorly, but there were others who did well in the examination. But looking at the situation now, did everyone end up doing badly this time? Did everyone meet their doom at the mathematics test? But no matter how difficult the test was, it couldn't be that not even one of them did well, right? There would surely be some straight-A student who could do well on this exam, but no matter where they searched and looked, why were all the examinees showing the same expression? A father and his son were talking. "Son, haven't you always done well at math? It was too difficult. The questions were way too difficult. How many did you manage to get correct?" "I don't know. I had to resort to guessing just to solve the questions." "How could that be? Just what kinds of questions did you get?" "Dad, if I can get 50 points on my math test this time, I would be more than happy." "What? You've always managed to get no fewer than 90 points in math. You even managed to score 99 points on one of the mock exams. Why would it be so bad this time? This doesn't reflect your aptitude at all." When another examinee heard that, he said, "Just be contented with that. Lazy can still score 50 points, but if I can score 40 points, I would already be extremely satisfied." I did not write a single word for my answers to the last 3 major questions. I couldn't even understand what the questions were asking. Several of the reporters' eyes met each other's, but they could not believe what they had just heard. They could believe that a question could not be answered since difficult questions did exist, but for the candidate to even not understand the questions? They clearly could not believe it. As a result, those reporters tried to obtain some of the math questions by interviewing a few examinees who recounted to them from memory. Upon writing out and seeing the questions, those reporters instantly felt dizzy. "Brother Liu, can you understand the questions?" "What about you?" "Me? I don't get it at all." "Fuck, me too. Damn, is this question even meant for us humans? It seems like the question-setting team is really out to kill everyone." Very soon, quite a few news reports were published. Darkness befalls the second day of the Beijing college entrance exams. Difficulty level of the Chinese literature and math tests goes off the charts. The end of the college entrance exam, students leave the exam venues in tears. The math exam questions exposed. Check if you can solve these questions. Never before in history. Difficulty of exam questions brings examinees to tears. Many of the photos taken outside of the exam venues were also posted. In the photos, it could be clearly seen that the headlines of brings examinees to tears was not just a figure of speech. The examinees had really been brought to tears by the difficulty level. Elsewhere. When the exam was over, the internet blew up with comments. The angered Beijing examinees invaded Weibo, Taiba, and a few of the larger online forums, shouting together in unison. "Examinee Little Wang, fairy tales are just lies. They're all lies. Number 3 High School Woof, teacher, why didn't it turn out according to the way we discussed? Number 4 High School Examinee, it's not that I'm bad at math, but that the enemy is too crafty." Beijing Normal University affiliated high school examinee, who were the people who listed out the reasons one by one before deducing that the math test wouldn't be too difficult. "Show yourself. If I don't beat you to death, I will take on your last name." Number 8 High School Examinee, after finishing the Chinese literature test, I felt that my heart was crushed. But after finishing the math test, I felt like my balls were crushed. Balls crushed as well. Balls crushed as well +1. Balls crushed as well +99999. A student from number 63 High School, dear juniors, if next year's Beijing Chinese literature and math tests become easier, please remember us. Please remember us, because that was exchanged with the sacrificed blood of your predecessors, your seniors, us. Don't thank me, just call me the unwilling red scarf. The examinees from the other provinces had gathered to watch. Scratching my head in confusion. Brothers and sisters who took part in the Beijing college entrance exam, it's been hard on you all. I've seen your math exam questions, all I want to say is you're all glorious warriors. Come on, stay strong. Whoever gets those questions would not be able to answer them either. The Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board has really gone big this time. Let's see how they will handle the situation later on. Zhang Yi's such a wicked fellow. Those questions must have been set by him. We're lucky that our province's Higher Education Entrance Examination Board did not invite this fellow to join them. Otherwise, the ones to be sacrificed this year would surely have been us. Just thinking about it gives me the shivers. Whoever gets involved with a question setter like Zhang Yi who does not play his cards logically is surely down on their luck. Zhang Yi is the scourge itself. When he was at the radio station, he fought the entire radio station system. Then when he went to the television station, he fought the television station's leader. At the university, he went against the education world. When he got into the crosstalk industry, he fought against the crosstalk world. Now, he has even come to destroy the higher education entrance examination system. The Beijing examinees were cursing. The examinees' parents were complaining. The entire society's attention had suddenly turned its focus to the Beijing college entrance exams. The Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board. The question-setting teams. Zhongyi. All of these parties were thrust to the forefront of discussions. Not long after, a call to severely punish the question setter was making rounds across the internet. Countless Beijing examinees and their parents were participating in it, while the examinees from the other provinces also joined in to show their support. This new wave of dissent once again turned the internet upside down as it caused a great deal of commotion. Where is Zhongyi at? Zhongyi, where are you? Hand that man over. Down with Zhongyi. Revenge for the examinees. Down with the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board. Justice for the examinees. The shouts came wave after wave, continuously. At another place. Zhongyi's parents' house. Dong dong dong, dong dong dong. There was someone knocking on the door outside. His parents and Chenchen were at home staring at the computer for news related to the Beijing college entrance exam. When she heard that someone was at the door, his mother went over and opened it. Who is it? Outside, Zhongyi stepped into the house. Who else could it be? His mother was surprised for a moment. Why are you home? Zhongyi laughed. The college entrance exam is already over. If I don't come back, where would I go? Do you prefer that I stay in the hills? Hey, let me say this, I was bored out of my mind when I was there. It's always the woods that I see when I open my eyes. Just look at all these marks on my body. I got these bites from the mosquitoes and bugs. There's too many of those in the hills. His mother said, get into the house quickly, I will get you some essential balm. Zhongyi was in a rather good mood. It's fine, I've already applied some. Then he walked into the living room and saw his father with Chenchen. Dad, you're not working today? Chenchen, do you miss Uncle? Chenchen glanced at him. Her. Zhongyi smiled and said, her means you did. Then he asked, Dad, did this little rascal cause any trouble in our home? Chenchen pouted. His father looked at his son. You're still worried about whether Chenchen caused any trouble? I think the trouble that you've caused is much greater. Just look at this, it's a total mess online. The examinees and their parents are all scolding you. You're really asking for it. Just stick to setting the questions, why did you have to make them so difficult? Zhongyi said, who's scolding me? His mother followed up, see for yourself. No one is not scolding you. Zhongyi went over to the computer and had a look. It was really true, his Weibo account had received countless mention notifications and all of them were talking about ridding evil for the people. Zhongyi was already sweating at the sight of this and suddenly plucked Chenchen out of the chair she was sitting on and then sat himself in front of the computer. He logged into Weibo and quickly posted the message. Zhongyi, everyone, cool down. If it was difficult, then it would have been difficult for everyone. If the scores are low because of this, then everyone's score will also be low. It is actually all the same and your college admission won't be affected. In this world, it was quite common for students to be admitted into universities. Out of 10 examinees, more than half would qualify for university. That was why the difficulty of the questions wouldn't have affected their chances by much, unless the examinees did very badly on the overall exam. That portion of the examinees who did not achieve a good enough result still wouldn't have scored well, whether or not the questions were difficult. They still wouldn't have qualified for university, so there wasn't really much of a difference. However, the examinees were having none of it. When they saw Zhongyi's Weibo status light up, all of the Beijing examinees swarmed over. That Zhongyi has appeared online. Your sister, how dare you still appear? Everyone, come and gather quickly. The culprit has appeared. Down with Zhongyi. Zhongyi, we've all been screwed big time because of you. What kind of lousy questions of yours are those? When Zhongyi showed up, he was immediately besieged by countless people. Zhongyi didn't know how to react. He coughed and then composed himself and posted onto Weibo like a boss, why are you all scolding me? The questions were not set by me, they were set by Dean Pan Yang of Peking University. Dad. Mom. Chenchen. Suna's Weibo. A Peking University teacher who was also on the question-setting team. At a certain house. Pan Yang came home totally worn out and had just taken a sip of tea before he started browsing through the internet on his computer. Instead, he saw the Weibo message posted by Zhongyi, and after reading it, he nearly lost his balance. He spat out his tea. He had not expected Zhongyi to pin the blame on him to make him the scapegoat. Pan Yang was also getting anxious. This was not something he could take the blame for. He was just about to post his Weibo reply when he saw the rest of the comments that the examinees followed up with. Those comments left him laughing out loud. Peking University's Dean Pan? Don't listen to his nonsense. Damn it, who are you trying to bluff here? It's you for sure. Don't think that we don't know about it. These kind of wicked questions wouldn't have come from anyone else but you. PFFT, Teacher Zhang, you're lying with a straight face. I'm suddenly very amused by this. Zhang Yi, do you even have any integrity left? It was you. Can't be anyone else. Don't try to shift the blame. Even if these questions get burned to ash, I will know where they originated from. In the end, not one of the examinees or netizens believed him. They all knew that Zhang Yi's mouth was totally unreliable. Zhang Yi had no other way out, so he simply went offline as he knew that if he couldn't appease them, then the better way was just to hide. This guy was intending to lie low for the moment since he had become the public enemy to so many people. At night, the farce was still ongoing. The Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board was also interviewed with regards to this year's examination questions, and a press release was published soon after. The press release exposed the names of the question setters of the most difficult questions in the various subjects' exams and even revealed some details in regard to how a question should be written. This resulted in the Beijing examinees and the observing netizens discovering with shock that the questions that had tormented the examinees in both the Chinese literature and mathematics tests were indeed written by none other than the goddamn Zhang Yi. That's right. Every question was set by him. At this moment, the examinees became so angry they cried out loudly in rage. Every injustice has its perpetrator. They once again launched their attack on Zhang Yi's Weibo with wave after wave of scolding. You still dare claim that the questions were not set by you? And even tried to accuse Dean Pan of being the one? I give in to you, Teacher Zhang. How could it be that all the crazy difficult questions were set by you? 713 The average scores of the Beijing examinees are published. Chapter 713, The average scores of the Beijing examinees are published. The next day. The storm was not over yet. The first thing he heard when he woke up and opened his eyes was the ringing of his cell phone. Zhang Yi was in a half-awake state when he answered the call. Hello, who is it? It's Pan Yang. It was the dean of Peking University's School of Mathematical Sciences on the line. Zhang Yi suddenly felt more awake, and asked knowingly, Dean Pan, what's the matter for you to call so early in the morning? Pan Yang did not hold back. Why did you pull that shit on me yesterday? Zhang Yi played dumb. Did I? You claimed that the questions were set by me? Pan Yang asked. Zhang Yi said, What? What questions were set by you? Did I say that? I don't remember anymore. I was too tired yesterday, so I went to bed immediately after I got home. You rascal, still pretending to be innocent. Hee, that's not it. After quibbling for a bit, the call ended and Zhang Yi was no longer feeling sleepy. He got up and went out of his bedroom only to see that his family had already gathered in the living room to watch the news. Chen was sitting at the computer desk, fidgeting around, doing something. Dad, Mom, Zhang Yi greeted. His mother turned her head. You're up? I'll go prepare breakfast then. Sure. Thanks, Mom. Having said that, Zhang Yi turned to Chen. What are you doing? Chen did not turn to look at him and just replied, using the computer. Zhang Yi grunted, playing games again? No, Chen said. Let me see. Zhang Yi walked up behind her and saw the interface of Weibo in the browser. When he saw that the entire screen was filled with the angry comments and scolding by the examinees and their parents, he couldn't help but sweat at this. Why are you looking at this so early in the morning? Chen simply said, I want to know how everyone is scolding you. Zhang Yi nearly fainted. Why would you want to know that? Chen said, it's fun. Zhang Yi. His father was amused by this as he sat there beside them. His mother said, you rascal, you deserved it. You could have just stayed at home in peace, yet you chose to go out there and get into trouble. Zhang Yi said depressed, you say it like it's such a simple situation. If I just stay at home all the time, where would I get my popularity? How could I boost my reputation that way? His mother rolled her eyes at him. Whoa, you're still talking about reputation? Do you even have any reputation left now? It's already turned into notoriety. When I went out to buy the groceries this morning, I bumped into our neighbors, little son and sister Chen, at the market. They would usually chat with me for a bit whenever we see each other, or at least greet me. But today, it's like they pretended not to have seen me at all and just walked past me. I only found out later that little son's and sister Chen's children were taking their college entrance exams this year. Grandma Wang told me that little son's child went home after the exam and broke down crying. Look at the trouble you've caused me. I have to go over there to make a visit to clean up your mess. Zhang Yi blinked. Surely that's not necessary? The questions I set were definitely not easy, but they also weren't that difficult either. It shouldn't have been so difficult that it would cause them to cry, right? His father interrupted. Just watch the news for yourself later. You can't imagine how many people are crying because of this year's college entrance exam. The scoldings continued on the internet. If the examinees had just recounted from memory the mathematics exam questions yesterday, then as of today, the entire exam had been uploaded with all the answers included in it. Anyone could see it. It was only then that the netizens discovered that those questions they had seen yesterday were only for the multiple choice or fill in the blank sections at the beginning part of the examination paper. The short answer questions at the end of the test were even crazier in difficulty. One of them required the examinees to solve a question that was at the university level using high school algebraic geometry knowledge. The attached ideal answer for this question took up more half the paper it was written on, leaving anyone who read it trembling. The examinees were in tears as they checked through the answers. I scored 50 points. I calculated mine and I only got 45 points. I'm so sad, I think mine is only about 40 to 45 points. There were a few multiple choice questions that I couldn't understand and guessed at, so I can't remember which options I chose for those. I did a little better, but I won't get higher than 70 points. Having analyzed the questions and answers today, I've realized that we were too careless during the exam. We totally underestimated that scammer Zhang Yi back then. Many of the questions could still be solved and were within most of the examinees' level. But what is most wicked about Zhang Yi is that he totally tries to catch you off guard with the questions approach. The style of the questions are all done in a way that we have never come across before, so when we first read the questions on the exams yesterday, most of us were stunned by them. It happened to me as well and I was totally unprepared for it. It's useless to say anything now. I hereby announce I will officially join the Zhang Yi's Lifetime Adversaries organization. I will join too. A lifetime of adversary? I will be his adversary for at least 2 lifetimes. 3 lifetimes for me. Ahem, don't be so harsh. Teacher Zhang was just following orders. He's still a nice guy no matter what. Right, don't be too harsh on Teacher Zhang now. There were still a few netizens who were speaking up for Zhang Yi. In the end, an examinee from this year's college entrance exam posted a reply that left everyone laughing. It's not like I want to be so harsh on Teacher Zhang, I really don't wish to do so. But among all the insanely difficult questions, if any one, just one question, was set by another teacher, then I wouldn't have said anything. I would understand and I could point my finger at the other question setter instead. All it needed was for a single question to not be set by him. But as it stands, they were all set by him. Every single question was his creation. So give us a reason not to be harsh on Zhang Yi? Just a single reason will do. If it were any other question setter, when faced with all these public opinions, they would have long since crumbled from the pressure and come forward to give an explanation to save their reputation. But Zhang Yi did not do so. He just went ahead with the most straightforward response, lie low. It was a good thing that this guy's mental strength was so strong. He had already gone through many similar situations where he was scolded by a lot of people at once, so it was just routine for him now. Perhaps that was also the same reason why the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board had approached him in the first place. The Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board were very committed to the reform of the college entrance examination this time, as they wanted to change the perception of their exam questions being too simple. That explained their determination, but also explained why they needed someone to carry out this dirty job. They needed someone who could become the focused target of the backlash from the examinees and their parents, thus lessening the pressure focused on the board itself. But who could they find? Who would be the most suitable target? Among all the teachers at the university level, who was the most unafraid of getting scolded? Whose mental strength was the strongest? Who had the thickest skin of all? The board did not even need to think and made their decision immediately: recruit Zhang Yi. This fellow had already been through 100 battles. His skin was amazingly thick. Even if the examinees and their parents did not scold him, there were still many other groups scolding him. Since he wasn't lacking in this area, it wouldn't matter much even if another group were to join in and scold him. So no matter how you looked at it, Zhang Yi was clearly the best candidate for this role. There was no one more suitable than he. That was probably why the board invited him to join them in the first place. However, at the very end, the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board might not have even expected that Zhang Yi would be able to write such insanely difficult questions that it would bring the examinees to tears. This was something no one could have predicted. Later in the morning, at the Beijing Higher Education Entrance Examination Board, more than a dozen people had gathered here for a meeting. A female staff member said nervously, "Leader, the scores for this year's math and Chinese literature tests might be a little bit low. Professor Liu has already informed us to be prepared for it. The teachers who graded the papers have already given us some feedback. They told us that after marking more than 20 papers, no one scored higher than 100 points for the Chinese literature test yet. It's even worse for the math test. Among the 20 papers, not one scored above 70 points. The board's leader. The board's office supervisor. Finally, the second-in-command wiped his sweat away and said, "For the reform this time, I think we might have tried a little too hard. It feels a little too harsh even. Could the Tier 1 grade really not even be above 480 points?" A staff member coughed and said, "Only over a few dozen papers have been graded. We still don't know about the rest of the papers after that. However, it's true that this year's questions were too difficult." Faced with the incredibly low scores of the examinees, the people on the board were also feeling a little guilty now. This was the first time they were doubting their decision in getting Zhang Yi to join them and wondered if it was a mistake. They felt they might really have gone too far this time. A few days later, the National College entrance examinations results were gradually released. The internet buzzed with activity. A Shandong province examinee, I checked it out. I scored 560 points. A Beihai province examinee announced excitedly, I got 530. It should be enough to qualify for Tier 1. Ha 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 ha. A Jinshai examinee, I scored 510. I didn't do as well as I could have, but it should be enough to qualify me for Tier 2. Why haven't they announced the grading yet? Hurry up. It's taking too long. 596 for me. Do you all think that I will become the top scholar of our province? Nonsense, I scored a point higher than you. What top scholar are you talking about? Hi, I only got 488. I'm in trouble this year. I got 601 points, higher than any of you. Many examinees from the different provinces were bragging about their scores actively online, except for one place. That place was where the Beijing examinees were from. Everyone began to notice. Why haven't any of the Beijing examinees talked about their scores yet? Beijing examinees, how did you guys do? Right, your exams made the headlines this year. How many points? Tell us quickly. The other provinces' examinees were all full of anticipation and curious. At this moment, a female Beijing examinee posted on Weibo, "Are you sure you want to see?" The netizens actively replied, "Of course." Alright then. The female Beijing examinee immediately posted her results slip online. When the netizens saw it, they were all dumbfounded. Chinese literature, 78 points. Mathematics, 25 points. Damn. Surely that's too low? Are you serious? 25 points for mathematics? This girl must be just average in her studies. Is there anyone else who scored higher? Another group of Beijing examinees gradually posted their results slips online. They were even the students from some of Beijing's key focus schools. A student from number 15 high school, my total score is 391 points. A Beijing Normal University affiliated high school's student, I only got 69 points on my Chinese literature test. A student from number 4 high school, my total score is 482 points. It's already considered high, but I only received 69 points on my math test. It's low as fuck. Not even labeling it as going overboard on the scores would explain the situation properly. Very soon, the various provinces' average scores were tabulated and released. It was generally as follows: Shandong Province Chinese Literature Examination Average Score, 97 points. Jiangnan Province Chinese Literature Examination Average Score, 101 points. Jiangsu Province Mathematics Examination Average Score, 102 points. Liaodong Province Mathematics Examination Average Score, 99 points. But the average score everyone had their attention on for this tabulation was the Beijing municipality's examinees' average scores. For example, the English, Arts, and Science average scores of the Beijing examinees were still in line with the national average. But the Chinese literature and mathematics average scores, together with the weighted total score for the Beijing examinees, were basically eyesores. Beijing Municipality Chinese Literature Examination Average Score, 72 points. Beijing Municipality Mathematics Examination Average Score, 59 points. When they saw the statistics, many of the netizens were stunned. 714 The National Higher Education Entrance Examination Board wants to invite Zhang Yi to? Chapter 714, The National Higher Education Entrance Examination Board wants to invite Zhang Yi to? It was too low. It was way too low. Every year's college entrance examination, whether it be the provincial or the nationwide version of the exam, had always had different difficulty levels. Sometimes, a certain province might have it easier and sometimes more difficult. It was impossible to maintain the same difficulty level across the entire country, therefore there would be a difference in the scores between each province's or municipality's zone. However, the scores usually did not differ by much and only came down to a difference of perhaps 1 or 2 points. For this year's Beijing exams, however, the Chinese literature examination's average score was lower than the national average by nearly 30 points.